Chapter 11. Piper POV. Brandon was back in school and thankfully, back to his normal self. Laughing and happy with his friends, apparently they were super shocked to see his snowboarding skills on the halfpipe. He'd been showing them the photos and the footage she had captured. Piper was currently working from home as she'd told Izzy she would be, and Brandon too. Izzy had sent one of the girls to her home to drop off the dress she had been working on, first thing Tuesday morning, so it wouldn't fall behind schedule. She was working from her home studio on the second floor of her home, but knew she could not avoid going into the store forever. She did actually have in-person appointments to attend to. Though she had already heard from Izzy that they had been fielding calls all of Sunday and Monday while managing the store from Drake Industries, at least a dozen, she had passed on the new policy to the other two stores as well. It wasn't just their store turning Drake Industries away. Izzy had sighed heavily. "I don't think that man is going to just go away, Piper." "He will," Piper had sighed right back. "What days and times do I actually have to come into the store this week? Can you send me the list? If you can handle the lesser clients, I'd appreciate it, Izzy." Izzy had sent her the appointments she needed to attend to herself. Only 4 of them this week. All the rest Izzy could handle. There was 1 today and 1 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, then none till the entire following week. She was going to come into the store from the back courtyard, didn't relish running into any wolves, if that man was still ticked off about not getting his own way. Though now she had another alpha to worry about as well, and not even one from this country. What was going on in her life? Why all of a sudden were things up in the air? Where had her well-settled and comfortable human life gone? Drove herself to the parking lot a few blocks away and made her way to the store via the back alleys to attend her appointment for today. Saw another store owner sitting in the courtyard having a cup of coffee, though she could smell alcohol in that coffee. Smiled at Caroline. She got along with all of the store owners around her, made a point to. Asked her how she was doing today. Had a chat for a few minutes and move on. Drinking alcohol in her coffee at work was the way she dealt with having an unfaithful husband. Poor woman really should just go and get a divorce. She had heard the two of them argue on more than one occasion now. Had actually stepped in when the man had slapped her. He had not realized she had walked into the courtyard at the time and had seen him. Piper had glared right at the man and slapped him right back for the woman. A little of Harper had been in that hit that day. They had both watched with satisfaction as he'd stumbled backwards a step and held his own hand to his face, much the same way his own wife had done, just seconds before. Then had told him to leave or she would call the police. He'd come at her, and she'd reminded him of the security cameras in the courtyard. Evidence he'd hit his wife first. He'd stalked off. Caroline was still with him 2 years later. Although she now drank at work, Piper had never seen any bruising on the woman to indicate any further abuse from her husband, and she did note that when he was here they were out in the courtyard, used those cameras to her advantage now. It was not Piper's place to get involved, though she had told Caroline if she ever needed assistance that her door was always open. Never had used it though. Piper let herself into her office via the back stairs and called down to Izzy to let her know she was in the store and setting up for her appointment. Izzy strolled upstairs and into her office 10 minutes later with a hot coffee and sank down on the chair across from Piper, just looked right at her for a solid minute. "What is it, Izzy?" She knew that look. Regular walk-bys going on. 2 rather largish men, not uncharacteristic of Mr. Drake himself, about every 2 hours or so. "They think I've not noticed them." She shook her head. Observant as always Izzy. It was expected that she would notice. Izzy had her own family issues going on, and when she'd first started working for Piper, had found herself under her own father's watchman. Though that had stopped a long time ago now. So this was about her, though which pack those 2 men belonged to she had no idea. "Did you recognize them?" Piper asked out of simple curiosity. Not the same 2 that came in before. She sipped her coffee, though that blonde one, yummy to look at. "Blonde one?" she questioned further. He's about 6'2", wearing a nice pair of dark blue jeans today and a well-fitted white t-shirt. Don't know what it is about him. But he gets my attention every time he strolls on by. Likely Edward the Gamma of her former pack. All women were drawn to him, and his Gamma charm. Lucky for Izzy that man had stayed outside. Don't get close to that man. Edward is his name. A real charmer. You'd be in his bed before you realized it, she warned Izzy. The woman did have a type, blonde and buffed up, which is exactly what Edward was. How do you know them, Piper? I used to work for Drake Industries before I came out here. Left. She thought about that for a moment, without permission, I guess you could say. Piper had thought about how to explain all this to Izzy, who she knew was going to come in here and ask questions at some point. She was her closest friend, hell, her only real friend. The woman was trustworthy and a good employee. She had helped Piper out a lot when Brandon was little, and so Piper paid her well above the standard award. Izzy was likely not going anywhere. Would still be around for years to come. Piper was actually thinking about bringing the woman on as a partner before she moved on to run the upcoming store about to open in Australia. That job came with a lot of perks, a company car, a pay raise, an apartment for the first year, travel expenses, and moving expenses. Izzy wanted to go. Piper couldn't deny her that. She had worked hard and earned it. Would miss her like crazy, though right this minute her and Brandon's 3-month stay in Australia for the opening of the store might just roll into a full move if things didn't settle down and go back to normal around here. You can leave a job anytime you like. What's the big deal? Izzy asked. Drake Industries, once you're in, it's usually for life. The boss has to approve your leaving. It's a bit weird, I know. She waved her hand at Izzy to stop the next bunch of questions. You kind of sign your life away when you sign up to the new boss. And you left without permission. Broke your contract. No, I just left and didn't tell anyone. She shrugged. That man, the first one to come into the store, Cooper is his name, Mr. Drake's, second in command of the company. Likely recognized me and report me to his employer or something like that. It was not the truth. He'd not recognized her, but this would allow Izzy some closure. So, you're in trouble? No, they actually can't do anything to me, other than harass me at this point. Your life is weird, Piper. She shook her head, though a guaranteed job for life, that is some neat security. And your life wasn't weird? Piper smiled at her. She knew it did sound nice to humans, a guaranteed job for life. They, however, didn't have to put up with random rogue attacks, enemy pack attacks, and being tossed onto the front line by their alpha to defend and die for his pack at his will any time he liked. They did not have to lose family members to those things, be left abandoned to fend for yourself when your parents died, and there was no one else around to look after you. I can only hope you're smart enough not to get involved with Mr. Yummy, Izzy. Saw Izzy laugh. I'm not likely to. Mr. Yummy can hang out in my dreams while I work on that promotion to Australia. You already have that promotion. Piper smiled at her. Mr. Yummy ain't likely to move now, is he? So I'll stay away. She stood up. I'll send Avalon up when she gets here. It shouldn't be too long now. Thank you, Izzy, and no, he's not likely to move from Montana, ever, she told the woman. Sorry. No biggie. Izzy shrugged and headed back downstairs. Piper sighed. Guess coming in the back was a good idea. Had roaming patrols waiting on her out the front of the store. Guess she really had ticked him off. Didn't like being told no. Well, now he got to see what it was like to not get what you want. Bloody alphas always used to getting everything they wanted. It was about time one of them learned that life wasn't actually fair. That you couldn't just have what you wanted even if it was yours. Took a breath in and shoved that tinge of pain touching her chest down and away. Not to be thought about, not ours anymore. She reminded herself. Avalon turned up for her final fitting and adjustment. She was happy with her gown, and out of her office within 45 minutes, all good. Piper headed out the way she came in, via the back entrance to her courtyard. She was headed to the car park when she heard a muffled cry of pain and fear. It was female. She stopped at the sound of men laughing, closed her eyes. Hated these alleyways sometimes, and the dumbass men that thought it was okay to drag girls into them for what they believed was a fun time. Only to them, not to the woman or girls. Took a breath in and smelled 4 distinct male scents, found not humans, wolves, and rogues at that. Took another breath in and found the female was a she-wolf. Her nose actually crinkled instantly at the scent she was smelling. Piper heard Harper snort in annoyance. They knew that scent. Did not want to get involved. The girl was not their problem, but for rogues and one she-wolf, Regardless of who that she-wolf was, it was not a fair fight. Turned down the alleyway and saw two of the rogues just standing back smiling, all lecherously watching on, while one was holding the young she-wolf shoved up against the wall, a hand over her mouth, and the fourth one was touching her all menacingly and plucking at her clothes, tormenting the girl about what was to come, she supposed. Stupid girl, obviously out without her escort. She was pinned to the wall with a hand around her throat, a hand over her mouth to muffle her cries, and a knee jammed between her thighs. Harper snarled right at them. None of them smelled her coming, but they were all looking at her now. Saw the big guy holding the she-wolf laugh right at her. More fun, boys, he stated, and she watched as the two standing back came towards her. The idiots thought she was a human. Well, she was not, and she was well trained. Unbeknownst to them, it was going to shock them greatly. She punched that first guy at full wolf speed and strength, right in his face, busted that nose of his, and he fell backwards, completely caught off guard by her speed and strength. Spun a roundhouse kick right into that second guy as he stood shocked by the attack on his buddy, slammed him right into the dumpster, heard both of them swear. Saw that big guy raise an eyebrow at her and then try to smell her. He would smell nothing, just like every other damned otherworldly creature would. Fight, Hadley, I know you can, she snapped at the girl who was just standing there, looking terrified about the situation she found herself in. Surely she had training, was an alpha female. It had not escaped her sense of smell the day she had walked into her store. She had also noted the girl was fit, like she trained as well. Didn't want to say the girl's name out loud, not ever, but had to. Was taking on two rogues at the same time down the alley from her, as both those men had gotten back up and come at her together now. She had trained for this, but it was years ago, and she'd not actually had to hit a wolf in near a decade. Mostly humans, and they were easy to take down. One punch at wolf strength and they generally got the message and ran off. Not this lot. Fists were flying, and so were her feet. In her attempt to fight them, at one point she was grabbed by the third rogue. From behind, he'd managed to snag her and pin her arms to her sides, which only left her to use her feet. Her claws were out suddenly, and Harper was aiding her, hadn't seen their claws in years, dug them into the man's thighs and gouged him till he was crying out in pain. Moved her head to the side when she saw one of them coming to punch her in the face, likely trying to knock her unconscious. He hit his own buddy right in the face. That man let her go, and as he gasped out in pain, she took chunks of flesh from his legs with her as she stepped away from him, dragged her claws through his legs, and shot off the mark to tear into the next guy. Could finally hear actual fighting going on behind her. Seems the girl had decided to fight back, about bloody time. Turned on the rogue, who had a busted nose and dodged out of the way of his hit, feinted at him, and then slammed her elbow right in between his shoulder blades and sent him sprawling on the ground. Kicked him between his legs as hard as she could while he was trying to get up, and heard him howl in pain, and watched with satisfaction as he grabbed his balls and curled up in pain. Harper had lent all her strength on that one. Turned around, 2 down, 2 to go, though the smaller of the two men was now looking at her quite wearily. "Come here, you dumbass. I'm going to rip your balls off," she snarled right at him, and just to add to her threat and make it more menacing, reached her clawed hand out and snapped it shut, made a yanking motion as though she was showing him what she was going to do to him. Saw him look past her to his two injured friends, then just turn and bolt away down the alley in the other direction. Didn't want to take her on, it seemed. Her eyes moved to the big man. He had Hadley pulled up against him, a hand around her throat. She was tiny for an alpha female, barely 5 feet tall. Huffed in annoyance, his other arm was around her waist, and she was completely lifted up off the ground, had no leverage to get herself free, was still struggling against the man, had several bruises, and there were claw marks ripped through her shirt. She was bleeding in several places. As was he. Her eyes said it all. She needed help. The woman that was taking her place was now begging with her eyes for Piper to help her, to save her life. She didn't like it, but couldn't let her be taken away by this SB who would brutalize her, likely asterisk her for goddess only knew how long, before passing her off to his friends and then selling her off when he was done with her. "Put her down," She snarled at the SB, "I'm a better choice." "You're nothing." He laughed, "She's alpha-blooded. She'll sell for a real good price." Saw as Hadley's eyes went really wide, fear in them now. "Not on my watch." "I know her packin' you, you're a dead man." She shot off the mark, regardless of the fact that he was using Hadley as a shield. The woman's wolf would heal her injuries if she sustained any. Saw the rogue's eyes go wide as he realized holding on to Hadley was not going to stop her from attacking him. He threw the girl against the wall to his left and Piper was on him, all claws out, ripping into his side, managed to snag just one claw right between two of his ribs and right into his lung, heard it collapse the second her claw was out. She took a knee to her own ribs, felt two of them crack and hissed in pain as she turned on him and put a full front kick right into his abdomen and then a knee to his face as he fell down. Thankfully, Hadley had already wounded him, and that collapsed lung helped a lot, so he was easier to take down than the others. Saw him lying there on the ground now unconscious. Lifted her eyes to the other two who were getting up off the ground and snarled right at them loudly and aggressively. Didn't need nor want to fight them again, but they were not looking at her, but at their leader. Finally their eyes moved to hers. She fainted at them and they both turned and ran off. Groaned and held on to her side, where her cracked ribs were, it was paining her, wiped the blood from her split lip and muttered, "Just freaking great." Turned to look at Hadley. The girl was still laying on the ground, seemed to be dazed. Had a head wound that was bleeding from where she'd hit the wall. Couldn't just leave her there. If that big bastard on the ground woke up first, or his men came back, they'd just pick her up and take her like they had originally planned to in the first place. Great, what to do? Sighed and hauled the girl up. She could half walk in her half-dazed state, made her way down the alley in the opposite direction that the rogues had gone, and flagged down a passing taxi. The driver looked very shocked at the state of the two of them. Both had bloody wounds on their bodies. "Take her to the hospital," she told him and took all the cash she had in her wallet and shoved it into his hand. He looked at it. It was more than enough. "I'll get there on my own." She put a still-dazed Hadley into the back seat of his taxi. She was flopped down on the back seat, then closed the door. "I mean it, straight to the hospital." She pointed a finger at him and snapped a photo of him, making her point. "What about you?" he asked, glancing over her wounded state. "I'll make my own way there," she told him again. Saw the man get back in his taxi, snapped the number plate and committed his face to memory in case the girl didn't make it to the hospital. He looked trustworthy, she hoped he was. Then went right to her car and left, headed home. She had to get cleaned up and hopefully healed up before Brandon got home from school. Looked at herself in the bathroom mirror and sighed. She had a split lip, a gash through her right eyebrow and a nice-sized bruise on her cheekbone. Bloody knuckles and a massive bruise where her ribs were broken, multiple claw marks on her arms and across her abdomen, a couple on her lower back. They were not out to seriously injure her, subdue her more likely. They wanted her alive, could only presume to be taken and treated as they would the other girl. To be sold off at some otherworldly black market, not a nice thought. Unfortunately, alone and unprotected, it did happen. Those four now knew she was not human, hopefully weren't locals to the area. She'd not really smelled many rogues over the years, the odd one here or there, but could pass on by them like she was nothing to them, like she was a simple human and of no interest to them. Despite not wanting anything to do with that girl or her mate, Piper could not, in good conscience, leave that girl to a hideous, horrible fate. It was not in her, as much as it pained her to know she'd just put the two of them back together. The girl was only young and didn't deserve to be sold off and used as a slave by some sadistic brute of a wolf, to live a life of torture and pain. Piper showered and changed, got rid of her bloodied clothing altogether, and headed off the 2 blocks to wait to pick Brandon up at the bus stop. Her face was healed. Harper had focused her healing ability on her face first. The bleeding had stopped on all her wounds, but her broken ribs would need more time. But it was autumn. So a long-sleeved shirt and a pair of jeans were okay this time of year and hid her wounds from his eyes. Chapter 12. Bradley POV. Standing in his empty hotel suite, Bradley was absolutely fuming. Hadley had been told to stay here, not to leave this room, period. Yet she was now not here. The girl was literally asking to be punished. He wondered absently what his father would do. If Hadley reported to him, he'd beaten her, sighed. He'd not likely beat her, but he did want to, really wanted to, but wouldn't. Wondered also how annoyed his father would be when he marched that girl right to the cells and put her in one of them. She had disobeyed his directed order, disobeyed her own alpha's order for that matter, wondered how long she had been gone for, didn't think that she had gone very far. Her handbag was still in the room on the couch where he had made her sleep. Walked over and checked it, no phone in there, must have it on her. Dialed her number and growled annoyingly into the empty room. It was actually turned off. What was the point in having it if it was turned off? Turned and stalked out of his hotel suite, banged the door closed behind him. He'd only come back to check on her after lunch, to make she was doing as she was told, and she wasn't. He took himself downstairs and showed her picture to the human doorman, asked him, "Did you see my sister leave?" "Oh yeah, got that pretty girl a cab." He smiled at Bradley. "Where to?" "I just hailed it," the doorman told him. "When?" Bradley snapped at the man, his annoyance no longer able to be held in. "About 40 minutes ago, I guess," he answered, looking at his watch. "Right," Bradley muttered. 40 minutes in the cells and counting little sister. She had been warned. He was going to follow through, regardless of what his father thought. She had been told by their father to do everything she was told to do. Hell, he as her alpha, had warned her himself and still she had disobeyed. Walked back to his rental car and headed back out to where he'd left his unit. Nothing it seemed was going right. It was a 30-minute drive back to the cafe they were using as their base to sit and watch Piper's store. Walked into the store to find Cooper not at the table with the boys, glanced at Eddie and Harry, a slight frown on his face at not seeing his beta, only to have Eddie look pointedly at the cafe counter area. His eyes moved to it, and he found himself looking right at Izzy as he sat himself down. Well, now their cover was blown. She was looking at him with a raised eyebrow as she collected her coffees from the girl behind the counter. "Cooper's in the bathroom." Eddie mind-linked him, "Tried to stop us from getting recognized as your men." Izzy walked right by him as she headed for the door, glanced directly at him. "I told you already, she's not working from the store, for several weeks." "Purely coincidence," he commented right back. Right? You're a long way from home, aren't you?" she stated, and then walked out the door. Bradley frowned. A long way from home. Either she had looked him up or Piper had told her where they were from. "They don't normally use this cafe." "Nope." Eddie shook his head. "There are 4 on the street," and she wandered along looking at all of them in turn. "I saw her look right at me for a moment, and then just came in and ordered coffees. She didn't acknowledge me at all once in the store, but pretty certain she came in because she recognized me." "Must have picked up on our walk-bys," Harry commented. "She's not so blind, in other words," Bradley sighed. "Looking for anything out of the ordinary." "Likely," Eddie nodded. Cooper strolled over and sank down. "Brad, your timing sucks." It does seem that way." He nodded. Hadley left the hotel in a cab almost an hour and a half ago now. Found all their eyes on him in an instant. "We've not seen her," Cooper told him. "Can't be that far away. Let's go hunt the area." They all got up and headed out of the cafe. Bradley came to a halt at hearing Piper's name mentioned. A tall girl was chatting with her mother as they came out of another coffee shop down the street, talking about how she thought Piper Harper was so nice and her wedding dress was perfect and super excited to be picking it up in a week. "Excuse me." Bradley interrupted the two of them, putting a smile right on his face, all his charming self and appeal for them to see. "Did you just see Piper Harper in person?" "Yes," the girl nodded. "She is amazing," smiling right back at him. "Thank you, I was hoping to catch her myself today." He nodded to them, and then turned to look at Cooper expectantly, his annoyance that she was there in the store, and they did not know about it for him to see. "Brad, you've been here most of the day yourself. We haven't seen her. There is no way she got past us." Bradley frowned now. That was true. He'd been here himself, only left to go and check on Hadley. But it was obvious from that woman's statement she was in the store. Go and find Hadley. He muttered as he turned and marched himself down the street and right into goddess gowns. locked eyes with Izzy, whose mouth he saw actually twitched in full amusement. He could only imagine from the look on her face. She knew he'd just found out that Piper was here in the store, and his men had not known. Turned his eyes to the upstairs loft, and before Izzy could say anything to him, stalked up there, heard Izzy laugh to herself and knew it was aimed at him. He and Benson nearly snarled at the woman. Barely managed to keep it inside of him when he found Piper's office empty, but the scent of that human woman's perfume was there in the office, so she hadn't been gone long. Really hated this minute that she masked her scent everywhere that she went, even in her own office. Was fumingly angry with the woman, with the fact that she had somehow managed to get past him and his entire Alpha unit at that. "Can I help you, Mr. Drake?" Izzy's voice came to him dripping with sarcasm. His eyes moved right to hers. "Where is she?" Bradley snapped at her. The woman was standing on the landing by the top of the stairs. She had tested his patience days ago, and now it seemed she was about to do it again. The look on her face, a very smug smile, told him she intended to do it again. Obviously had no issues dealing with him. Likely had to deal with irate wealthy humans all the time, and was not afraid to stand her ground. "Not here. Please remove yourself from Piper Harper's office, or I will be calling the police." On what grounds? A client looking for her, he shot right back. He'd done nothing illegal. Saw the corner of her mouth tilt right up now. Stubborn bloody woman, trespassing. It's a store, community property so to speak. Bradley informed her she had no idea who he was. "Only if you're a customer, and Piper Harper doesn't want anything to do with Drake Industries. I believe that's the new policy she instated last week." "Well, I knew nothing about that now, did I? I was not notified of the new policy, so how would I know that?" "Go ahead, Izzy, call the police." He smiled right at her. "I'm a lawyer." He could see that shocked her completely. He leaned right down to her ear. "Oh, didn't she tell you that?" He smiled. And a damned good one, came from a long line of them, leaned back and let her see his smile. "Now where is Piper Harper?" "Gone home for the day," she told him simply. "And where is home?" he asked right back. "That is none of your business," she stated quite coldly, and then stalked off down the stairs away from him. Bradley nearly laughed. A part of him really liked this woman, so very protective, headstrong, and could stand her ground. It was no wonder Piper liked her, reminded her of a wolf in all likelihood. He followed her down the stairs, all the way to her counter, and looked right at her, smiled his most charming of smiles, and saw her facade falter slightly. Her eyes went wide as his sudden change. Bradley knew that his resting annoyed face did not make him handsome at all, just looked mean and nasty to most, but when he turned on all his charm and smiled, really smiled at someone, especially the ladies, they all fell all over themselves to try and please him. Especially the humans, she was no different. "Izzy," Bradley practically purred out her name, softly, "please help me out." He continued to smile at her, watched her take a step back away from him and shake her head as if to clear it. Her eyes moved over his face. Knew she was taking all of him in. She couldn't help it, no human woman could. "Well, not many anyway. What can I do, Izzy?" Bradley asked softly. "To get you to help me out." He leaned on the counter, with both his elbows, allowing her a real close look into his eyes. Most were mesmerized by them, both human and wolves alike. "Oh, I'm not falling for that." She pointed a finger right at him. "I've seen that before. Dealt with people like you for a long time. Go away, I will not be telling you anything." Bradley chuckled softly. "I'll send my best man in to charm you. Then shall I," and he meant it. She would not be able to get past Eddie. "What?" she gasped. "I have a boyfriend. Hope he likes to share." Bradley smirked right at her. "Eddie won't take no for an answer, and it's very unlikely you will say no to him." He stood and walked out of the store. She might be somewhat immune to Bradley, which he didn't mind at all, didn't particularly like flirting with her, didn't want to. He had Piper to consider, and who knew if it would hurt her or not, so he would not. Eddie, on the other hand, was single and happy to mingle. Bradley was done being tricked by Piper Harper, or Izzy, into believing she was not around. The bloody woman was starting to infuriate him. "Eddie," he mind-linked his gamma. "Yes, Brad. I give you permission to go and charm Izzy." Sweet, she's a real cutie. He could hear the amused, happy tone in the man's voice. He could well imagine he was smiling right this minute. Find Hadley first though, boss. Yes, Bradley agreed. They did not find Hadley, but did send out her blood and found an unconscious rogue lying on the ground in a back alley. There was a lot of rogue scent in this alley. In fact, for distinct scents as well as Hadley. Fear was itching him. He didn't think she could take on 4 male rogues at once and win. But something else was going on here too, where Hadley's blood didn't match up with the rest of the fight scene. There was another in this alleyway, or maybe one of the rogues had turned on the others, but his major concern was that Hadley was no longer here. She was gone. Eddie was already tracking her scent down the alleyway, hollered back at him, tracked it all the way to a main road. It was still quite strong, but then the scent was just gone. Likely she was in a car and driven away. Check the hospitals. Bradley snapped out. Brad, what if there was another? Helped her get away, that fight. It was Cooper, he'd noted it as well, a fight where Hadley's blood was, but another fight meters away down the alley, likely at the same time. I know, he nodded. What if it was Piper? We can't smell her, I can't send another in the alley. He sighed. If it was? She either put Hadley in a cab or took her home, and I don't think she took the girl home. Bradley didn't think she would have even wanted to get involved in the fight, if she had, and thought Hadley was his mate. She was saving the woman that she thought was now his mate and putting them right back together. Therefore, he didn't think she would take her home. That would bring him right to her doorstep, and seeing the two of them together had caused her a lot of pain last time. Wouldn't do that to herself willingly. Hospital first. Cooper agreed with him. Though if it was Piper who had helped out, that must have caused her some conflict, yet still helped her anyway, did what any she-wolf would do, saved another from a horrible situation. Unless they were both taken by the 3 rogues, he could smell but not see. He was actively praying that was not the case, praying Harper had come forward and helped her win against those rogues, and that they had put Hadley into a cab. Damned woman, so frustrating, yet still so caring at the same time. He had to find her, get that bloody scent masking spray off of her, and find out if she was actually his mate or not. They found Hadley in the emergency room of the nearest hospital, and all thoughts of punishing her and putting her in the cells back home were gone from him. The nurse who was looking after her was telling him about her condition. She had a concussion and had been strangled by the look of it. He could see there was a large hand print around her neck and bruising on the entire left side of her face. She had a graze down her right cheek and a wound at her temple. The short-sleeved hospital gown she was now wearing showed bruising and claw marks on both her arms, defensive wounds, and when she looked at him, her blue eyes filled with tears, and then she just burst into tears. He hugged her to him, and she just held on to him and sobbed. Careful, the nurse told him. She has more wounds on her body. Some needed stitching. How'd she get here? He asked the nurse. My understanding, a cab driver brought her in. Hadley, what happened? He asked her softly, although he was certain he already knew, and both Cooper and Harry had collected that roquet to deal with him. He had to ask. He also knew she would tell him only what humans would understand. She looked up at him. Her right eye was bruised. He hated seeing her like this. 4 men attacked me, Bradley. But more tears spilled down her face. Eddie's hand was in her hair. Sure, it's all right, Hadley. His southern drawl rolled out of him, his gamma charm in full effect to help her calm down and ease her stress. They came out of nowhere and dragged me into that alley, but... Again that hesitation. But... Bradley prompted. Piper must have heard and came to help me. She's injured too, Bradley, out there somewhere. Did they take her? He asked, and hated the 10-second wait for her to answer. No, she helped me up into that cab and sent me here, but, he sighed. She took on 3 of them alone. More tears spilled down her face, and he felt Eddie's hand on his arm. He relinquished Hadley over to the man, so he could use the force of his gamma charm to calm her down completely. His father had said she was in danger, alone out here. She had just saved Hadley from a fate worse than death. He would ask her more details back at the hotel. He understood why she still looked badly injured, couldn't allow Letty to heal her and let the humans see it, so had to remain injured. I didn't get the chance to tell her I was your sister, Bradley. I'm sorry. It's all right, Hadley. It likely was not a good situation for either her or Piper. Did any of them, he had to ask the horrid question, touch you? No, well, not really. Piper came before they could, thankfully. She answered him. She's injured Bradley. She sounded much calmer now that she was in Eddie's arms. How badly, did you see? Had blood on her face, down one side of her abdomen and on her arms, looked a right mess before I was thrown into the wall. Bradley nodded. He didn't like it, didn't have much choice about it. Wasn't there to stop it, but if she had gotten Hadley out and won against 3 rogues, Hadley, how did you get away from the 4th man? Piper attacked him too. He threw me at the wall and T hit my head. I don't really remember much after that, just that she picked me up. It's fuzzy. I think she threatened the cab driver to make sure I got here. He nodded, could see Eddie looking at him, worry on his face. If Piper was Bradley's mate, and even his own father was leaning in that direction, then the Luna to their pack was out there somewhere, injured. It was not sitting well with the pack's gamma. She was his job. Why the alleyway, he thought. Why was she there? It was blocks away from her store. He sighed, knew the answer right away. Because she didn't want to use the front door, so that back entrance went beyond that courtyard that led to the short walkway to the front of the store. There must be another exit, one he'd not been watching. Got Hadley discharged and back to their hotel. Letty started healing her as soon as she was in the car. She was still upset and beside herself that Piper had gotten hurt while helping her, had begged him not to call their father. He'd told her he had to. So she'd begged him not to until she was healed. This was the exact reason she was not allowed to go out on her own without Quartz. Exactly what their father had lectured her about just yesterday, and then she had gone and done the most stupid thing and found herself in the situation they had warned her about. She had now told him in full detail about the rogue's purpose for her, that she would sell for a good price. He'd even heard that Piper had told them she was a better choice. He shuddered to think of her, either of them, for that matter, in those rogues' hands. Put a call into Cooper and told him what Hadley had said. Heard the man and his wolf snarl in anger. He wasn't exactly sure what pissed him off more, what they wanted to do to Hadley, or that they had told Piper she was basically worthless. He just stated, I'll sort it out and end this before coming back. Which just meant that the rogue was likely going to wind up dead after Cooper had tortured him for all the information he had about the whereabouts of the other 3 rogues who had gotten away. They did not want any of them coming back to have another shot at Hadley or Piper for that matter. Piper had taken them all on and won, so she must still train either on her own or in some gym. Both her parents had been good strong warriors, likely both on their way to elite status, and she had been in training, according to the pack records, both before and after she got her wolf, to be a warrior herself, likely wanted to take after them. Likely wanted to make them proud of her, had trained right up until she'd scented him out and got hit with that first lot of betrayal pains he imagined, and then it would have just been a downward spiral into withering away to nothing. Bradley hated that thought, that she'd suffered through that. Once he had woken up inside his own pack hospital after she'd left, and he'd heard his pack Dr. Samuel tell him that not only did it sound like and look like he'd been suffering from a rejection. Eddie's claim that he'd felt severe pain from a she-wolf and only he would feel the Luna like that. Then to go on and tell him that for the past 3 years he had been feeling the pain of another, not been able to track it down. Mostly it happened when Bradley was with a she-wolf, and that unfortunately, it was mostly when they were away from the pack. Though he did also feel it when Bradley had been with Bianca in their pack. That when they were in the pack, Eddie had hunted relentlessly for the one in pain, but he had never been able to pin her down or find out who that pain belonged to. Bradley had been more than a little horrified that it had been going on for 3 years. He had stopped touching she-wolves, stopped flirting with she-wolves, and stopped having asterisk right away, knew what it would do to the girl if it continued, and he didn't want that. Was more than confused about it, apparently having a mate he knew nothing about. One he was damned sure had been in his bed that very night. He'd never felt anything like her before. Touching her had created a need in him that he'd never felt or experienced with any she-wolf ever, the way she felt under his hands. The way she had responded to his touch even. Then to reject him, and not just as her mate, but also as her alpha and the entire pack to boot. It was not good. He'd had no idea, didn't even really know what she looked like, had been so damned consumed with how she had felt the pleasure he was taking in being with her. His bloody eyes had been closed most of the time, immersed himself in that pleasurable feeling, so self-absorbed by it. He was an asshole, it seemed. Pulled his mind from that and put a call into his father and told him what had happened, let him talk to Hadley and see her. Her mother, too, heard her actually promise to do as she was told, now that she really understood the risks of being out and about alone. Chapter 13. Piper POV. Piper hit the treadmill at sunup, like she did every morning. Her ribs were still causing her pain, but Harper was working on them. She found Brandon next to her 15 minutes later. She smiled down at him as he stepped onto his own treadmill, frowned right at her and pointed to the bruising on her ribs. What happened? I'm all right. Slight altercation with a man, trying to hurt a woman. I won. She grinned down at him. So you think today's the day you'll beat me? Piper asked, distracting him with a challenge. Maybe. He grinned right up at her as he turned on his machine. Piper ran every day, about 18 kilometers in the morning and another 18 to 20 in the evening, depending on how she felt at the time. Both their treadmills were hooked to the iFit app, and she was currently running through Vermont. It was up on the screen with the iFit trainer running and chatting away about the sights and when to breathe and when to kick it up a notch and when to slow it down. Her treadmill under full control of the iFit app. Brandon only ran every other day usually, but he had been running every morning with her since they got back. She didn't mind the company, liked running with him. How's Aspen? She asked him. Sleeping, he's not awake every day. Brandon commented. Piper wondered if that was because Brandon was too young or if it was because Aspen was too young to emerge fully. Or if pushing forward in Whistler had been too much for the boy's wolf. He's all right though? You're all right, her. Yes, stop talking and trying to make me lose my breath. Brandon shot at her, then grinned. When he wakes up, he said we'll beat you. Piper and Harper both snorted at him, fully amused now. Good luck, they laughed at him, challenge accepted. You're on, Mum. He grinned right back at Brandon, got off the treadmill first with a huff, which had made her laugh. The morning was brisk, but sunny. They ate out on the deck of the dining room, which overlooked the woods of the Emerald Estates Park, and then she took him to school herself instead of him catching the bus. Came home to work in her home studio on the second floor till her appointment at 5 p.m. this afternoon, where she dropped Brandon off at one of his friends' homes to hang out until she was done working. He didn't mind, happy to hang out and play soccer in the backyard till she came back to pick him up. Arrived the same way she did the previous day, via the back entrance and courtyard, strolled up the stairs and let herself into her office, called Izzy to let her know she was in. Saw Izzy walk into her office and look right at her, a deep frown on her face. What is it, Izzy? Did you get into a fight yesterday on your way out? She asked very directly. What? Piper asked, shocked that she knew this. How could she know this? Mr. Yummy came into the store today, this morning, and tried to sweet-talk me into giving up your home address. Izzy said as she sat down in the chair on the other side of Piper's desk. Piper was staring at her now. Goddess, had the Pax Gamma charmed all of her information out of Izzy? Did you tell him, Izzy? Piper asked, quite concerned. What? No. Of course, not Piper. I really just wanted to punch him in his handsome face most of the time. She shook her head, but then he told me. You got into a fight and were injured, Piper. I was really worried. Did you tell him after that? No, she shook her head. I know you would have called me, right? If something happened to you. Of course I would have. Piper lied to her. Do look injured to you. She stood up and even turned around so that Izzy could see all of her. No, Izzy nodded. They're playing dirty now. I don't like it, Piper, and I don't think they're going to leave you alone either. Piper sighed. It didn't seem that way at all, Mr. Yummy. She wondered aloud. Not many could resist that man's charms. You didn't get charmed by him? Like at all? No, his attitude. She shook her head. So super sure of himself. And what the hell is with that accent? That suddenly rolls out of him. She shrugged, got ticked off at him, seemed to surprise him too, that I wasn't all into him. Rolled my eyes at him at one point, and he just stood and stared at me very shocked. Piper smiled, though I bet it did. That man is better with the ladies than anyone in Drake Industries. It was very interesting that Izzy was immune to Edwards's charm. Mr. Drake himself had more luck on that front. Almost had me telling him what he wanted yesterday. Got all smiles and charming at me in the store. Are they all like that? Yes, unfortunately. Piper nodded. When they want something from you, that is. You know, Piper, I noticed something about Mr. Drake himself while he was here up close and personal yesterday, and he only missed you by like 10 or 15 minutes too. And then, what did you notice? She asked, curious herself now. That Brandon's eyes are exactly the same as Mr. Drake's. Her look was very direct. Piper said nothing at all. But trust Izzy to pick up on that, but then how could she miss it? Those eyes were unmistakable, so deep dark blue with those brilliant jewel green flecks all through them. They were kind of like looking at a blue-green opals, very beautiful and mesmerizing. Unlike her caramel brown eyes. I'm guessing he doesn't know then. That's why your reaction, why you're avoiding him. Perceptive as ever, though not the reason she want to avoiding him at all. Heard the door chime and sent Izzy down to answer it. The woman went even though Piper had not answered her question. She was not dumb. Miss Harvey arrived promptly on time to discuss her dress and produce a sketch of what she thought she might like. It was not a rough sketch either, turned out to be very detailed, so much so that Piper got the distinct feeling that it was not the girl's handiwork. Took a screenshot of it for reference. It felt very familiar to her, then asked who designed it? Oh, I did, but I had my friend draw it up. What do you think it will cost to make? Piper shrugged. That depends on a lot of things. Fabrics, lace you choose, the beading quality and style, the buttons, the type of underlay, and if you want an inbuilt corset or not. What price are you looking at spending, and do you know what material you want it made out of? Oh, yes, I have a list. She pulled out a computer-printed list of materials and handed it to Piper. I like to come prepared. She smiled right at Piper. Piper put her phone on her lap, and as she looked at the list in her hand of materials in her hand, she knew this was not the girl's design. This dress was made by another designer. It was a Victoria Lambardi design. She was damned certain of it. Are you sure you designed this? I won't make another designer's dress. I did. She nodded. My friend is a brilliant sketch artist, is all. I can see that. Piper nodded as she flicked the picture of the dress to Victoria's number to see if it was her design. Was now just waiting for confirmation. It didn't take long for her phone to start ringing and Victoria's name popped right up on the screen. I'm sorry, do you mind if I take this? Not at all, go ahead. Miss Harvey smiled. Piper placed the phone on the desk and hit the call button, put it on speakerphone. Vic, how are you? Saw Miss Harvey's eyes widen. I'm not very good, Piper. Did you just send me a design drawing of my latest gown that came out a month ago? I believe so. I have a Miss Harvey here who's claiming it is hers, but I recognized your label right away. Thought you'd like to know. Watched as the girl shot to her feet. Piper held onto the sketch when she tried to take it from her. I want that girl's details, please, Piper. No problem. I'll send them in detail. Even attach the photo if you like. It's my design. Miss Harvey suddenly burst out. It's a crime to steal a designer's dress. She heard Victoria snapping over the line, and I'll be pressing charges. Piper, please detain her. Piper stood and the woman fled from her office. Gone, Vic. Sorry, running away as we speak. All good, Piper. Thanks for the heads up. What did she actually want? To see how much it would cost me to make it. But I know your style. You do love your bling. She smiled. You know the girl? I believe I do. I fired her about a month ago. One Miss Jade Harvey, right? Yes. Please do send me any details you have for her. That sketch went missing with her along with a few other things. Sure, I'll flick you an email right now. And send the sketch and item list she provided me by courier tomorrow right to your office. Thanks, Piper. No worries. Have a nice night. Piper hung up and did just that. She really did hate it when someone tried to pass off another's work as their own. Victoria was higher ranked in the bridal industry than Piper was, and she was actually a very nice person to boot. Friendly and happy to sit and chat with Piper at bridal shows, they'd had dinner a few times and hung out at an after-party of 2. She helped Izzy lock up the store and told her she would see her next week. Izzy was off for the next 4 days, headed home for her sister's wedding on Sunday, reminded her not to take any of her father's crap out there in Maine. She wasn't due back at work until Wednesday, then told her, "Now Izzy, don't do anything silly," all her meaning on don't sleep with some man while drunk, and they both laughed, then headed off in two different directions. Piper frowned and turned around to look back behind her 3 times on the way from her store to where she had left her car in the car park, got the impression she was being followed or watched at least. Neither she nor Harper could pick up the scent of a rogue or pack wolf, for that matter. Shook it off and got in the car to go and pick Brandon up from his friend's house. Stood in the kitchen preparing dinner while Brandon headed upstairs to shower after playing soccer the whole time she was gone. With his friends, more had turned up. They all lived close by, some just next door to where he had been, a good social group for him. She was happy about that. Tonight, beef schnitzel with mash and veggies was on the menu. Not that Brandon was going to be happy about the vegetables part. He voiced on every occasion that he didn't like them, protested on occasion, and had outright refused to eat them altogether at times. So stubborn at times. She hollered up to him to come downstairs for dinner when it was ready, and he whined. Right away at the sight of the veggies. She saw it coming the minute his eyes landed on the plate. A compromise: you eat all your vegetables and I let you eat in front of the TV. Even put on your favorite anime to watch. That got his undivided attention. He smiled right at her and headed off with his plate. Piper chuckled to herself. There was always a bribe to be had if you cheat. She added, "It will be vegetarian all week long next week." Saw his eyes go wide. He looked horrified by the idea. He knew that she would do it too. Pouted a little at her. "Come on, Mum. That's not fair." He moaned. "Aspen needs meat, not vegetables." Ah, that cheeky little bugger, she thought, still smiling, playing the wolf card already. It didn't take him long. "Aspen will suffer if you cheat, as much as you will. Because I mean, breakfast, lunch, and dinners for 7 days. Oh, and snacks too." Saw him shove a fork full of squash into his mouth and chew it, all unhappy-like. Burst out laughing at his "I'm eating it" expression, so hilarious. He could always make them laugh. Even Harper was chortling at his antics. She sank down on the lounge next to him, nudged him. "You know, you and Aspen need carbs as well as protein to grow up big and strong. You're just trying to make me eat stupid vegetables," he muttered. "They're good for you. But taste like crap," he muttered as he put more in his mouth and screwed his face up to show he didn't like it. Piper just laughed again. She did try to cater to his needs and only bought vegetables that she knew he would actually eat. Never bought green beans, or any beans for that matter. The boy wouldn't touch them, regardless of bribery, so she just didn't buy them. She retired to her studio to work some more after Brandon went to bed that night. Would have to get up and go into the store first thing for Miss Whitmore's appointment, and hoped the girl was over her tantrum from being put off last weekend to this weekend. The dress she had ordered was complete. Unless the girl had put on weight, that was. She'd insisted on a skin-tight gown, and it had been adjusted twice now due to her weight change. This would be the last time. If no alteration was necessary, the girl could take it home with her, and then she was on her own. Sat sewing beads into the dress she was currently working on until nearly 2 in the morning, before putting it back on the mannequin, finished it completely, stood and looked at it, smiled to herself. It had turned out lovely, and she just knew that the young bride was going to love it. Hope was a sweet-natured 25-year-old girl, a medical student with lots of debt ahead of her. This dress was a luxury for her. And her parents, unbeknownst to her, had saved every spare penny for her wedding dress. And so she had gotten exactly what she wanted. She would take it into the store tomorrow and call her to tell her it was completed. Actually recalled Hope crying when her parents had told her she could have any dress in the store she wanted, that they had saved well for her wedding day. She was their only child, and they wanted her to have a beautiful day. Piper had thought it was very sweet, and had given them a 15% discount on the dress to help them out. With the actual wedding, they'd tried to refuse her. She'd shrugged it off with a smile. It didn't bother her, and it was her store, her choice. Was woken by Brandon at the cock of dawn, and he was dressed and ready to go for a run, all super excited, yelling at her to get her butt out of bed. She could see Aspen was up and awake, the flicker of white in his eyes while they were bouncing around. He was ready for that who's faster challenge. She got up and dressed in her gym gear, tossed him a noshy pear for a snack before their run out in the woods today. Sure, and Aspen is going to kick your butt, Mom. He was grinning so excitedly, likely his wolf was itching for the challenge. Harper pushed forward and looked right at him, saw Aspen push forward, and she taunted him playfully. "Bring it on, son." She grinned right at him. The second they were done eating, they were out the back door and down the stairs to their small yard, which had 4 long stone stairs that led straight out into the woods. They had been running in the woods together for a while now, had a nice worn and track from their house that wound through the woods beyond their house all the way down to the GF Meadows Park, down to Morgan's Run Park, and then back again. Aspen was fast, but only Young and Harper could keep up with him quite easily, and then once back inside the Emerald Estate Park woods she shot ahead of him, laughing. Heard him actually snarl at her in his displeasure at her running by him and leaving him behind. She'd been holding back and now he knew it. They stood at the threshold of their property line and grinned right at him. Aspen and Brandon both looked more than annoyed, only made her and Harper chuckle to slow young man. She teased him and toss-led his hair. "You got too much practice," Brandon muttered. "Ah, come on. Aspen's only a boy, he'll grow strong and faster with time. Then one day he will be able to outrun me in a heartbeat." I imagine. She'd smiled down at them. "You want to go another lap?" Saw him actually consider it, saw Aspen look right at her, snort, and then just stalk off still in control of Brandon's body. "Guess not." She strolled after him, to shower and ready for the day. He still seemed annoyed at breakfast, but even Harper was happy right this minute. Seemed her day had been made, having Aspen challenge her. She really liked it, enjoyed her first real wolfen interaction with her son, the first real interaction with another wolf. She was happy about, since they were 18. Both she and Harper did know that Brandon and Aspen would outrun them at some point. The boy had alpha genes, so the minute he shifted for the first time would likely be when he could outrun them. Wondered if Aspen already knew that, what he was, an alpha wolf, might just leave that one alone unless they brought it up. It was likely though, she thought. He had come forward to protect her from another alpha. Drove out of her driveway and got that weird feeling she was being watched again, though she didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Lived in a house on the corner of 2 cul-de-sacs and she saw no unusual cars on the streets, just the usual neighbors about as well. Waved and smiled at them as she drove by and away from her house, even checked the review mirror, saw nothing near the house. Shook it off as just being paranoid. Her house and car were registered to her natural name, not attached to her business in any way, just like Brandon's last name. Everything away from the business was under Whitlock, but no one knew that was her real last name, so it was fine. She also didn't drive anything super fancy that would draw attention to herself, owned a Nissan Roque, had laughed at it when she'd seen one, thought it was apt, checked it out and found it had lots of cargo space, which was good for her to transport supplies around. And she liked the motion-activated liftgate, came in real handy at times. There was plenty of seating space for driving Brandon and his friends' places as well. Dropped Brandon off at his friend Tyson's place for the boy's birthday party, told him to have nice time, and then quietly reminded him not to let Aspen appear. He looked right at her as if to say, "I'm not dumb, you know," before getting out of the car to head into the party. Drove to her store and parked in the car park a few blocks away like she always did and walked the rest of the way to her store. Though it was really starting to get weird now and her paranoia was worse, constantly felt like she was being watched. Even Harper was all bristled up inside her mind, knew whatever or whoever it was that they had been sensing now since yesterday. Here at the store and today at their home, this couldn't be good. Piper didn't think Bradley would be so pissed off as to track her and send someone outside of her workplace. Though Izzy had said Mr. Yummy had tried to get her to give him her home address. Not that Izzy had done so. Smiled at the thought that Izzy had just wanted to punch him in the face. She was stubborn. Must have ticked Edward off too. There weren't many that could resist a Gamma and his charm, especially not a human woman. A part of her wished she'd been there to actually see it. Another part of her wondered what Edward himself made of it. A Gamma's ability never worked on their own mate. Just made them irritated, that their mate would try to sway them into getting what they wanted, and that was how it did appear that Izzy had reacted to him. Izzy had also told Piper that she had been drawn to the man. Every time that he had walked past the store window, she couldn't help herself but look at him. Poor woman could well be his human mate. She had no idea, hoped not, that would cause Piper and Harper more trouble. If she was Edward's mate, Edward would not only take Izzy away but would have her pledge loyalty to Bradley, and then that man could pull any and all information out of Izzy where Piper was concerned, if he so chose to. Walked into her office and headed downstairs. The store was already open, said good morning to the 3 staff already in the store. Laura, who would be taking over from Izzy as the store manager in a month's time, when they went to Australia, Claire and Diane, the 2 girls working on the floor today. There were already customers in the store along with their families to help the women pick out the dress she was looking for. Piper placed the dress she had finished last night in the back. It was already in a sealed gown bag and had the owner's name on it. Then collected the 2 wedding dresses from that section and moved them to the front of the store so they would be easily accessible when her clients got there, one for the final payment to be made and picked up and one for the final fitting, which she was hoping for no more adjustments. Chapter 14. Bradley POV. Bradley just stared at Eddie, more than a little confused by what the man had told him. In fact, all in the room were staring at him with raised eyebrows, as the man reported to him that he was unable to get any information out of the assistant manager, Izzy, from Piper's goddess gown store. Absolutely nothing at all, that apparently the tiny human woman was immune to not just his good looks and natural charming self, but also to his mild use of his gamma charm and then his full gamma charm as well. They were all shocked, and Eddie himself was clearly not happy about it at all. He'd never come across a human who could resist his full use of the gamma charm, gifted to him by the goddess herself. Izzy had watched him walk into the store. He'd smiled right at her full of charm, and she had damned near blushed apparently, smiled right back at him, like she'd already liked the look of him, and he'd thought it was going to be a walk in the park. For when she had slid her eyes over him, and she had done, he'd registered her heart rate increase and she'd sucked in a breath all sharp. Reacted to him as though she was very attracted to him. Even her dark brown eyes had darkened slightly and her pupils had dilated a little, all the telltale signs of attraction. All the things he used to tell if his charm was going to be needed or would work. Everything had lined up for him to charm her. But though he'd been able to flirt with the girl to soften her up, as he worked up to getting the information that he wanted out of her, the moment that he had brought up Piper, her whole attitude had completely changed. She had gone from smiling and being all friendly to instantly frowning at him with narrowed eyes. So he'd kicked it up a notch and turned on his gamma charm just enough to sweet-talk her like he would any human woman, and the reaction he had gotten had shocked him completely. Izzy apparently had taken a half step back from him and glared right at him, then snapped at him. "I don't give out personal details of employees to anyone." Looked like she had been about ready to smack him one. Eddie had decided to use the full use of his gamma's charm on the woman to try and calm her down, and had reached out to touch her to assist with the use of his charm, only to have her actually hit his hand away and tell him not to touch her. His southern drawl had been well pronounced when he'd tried again to get the information from her, and she had raised an eyebrow at his sudden change of accent. He'd still gotten nothing from her. So he'd changed tactics altogether. Figured hitting on her and sweet-talking wasn't going to work, so he told her the truth, that Piper had gotten injured in an alleyway behind the store and that he was honestly concerned about her. Had even let his real concern for Piper shine through to her, been genuine with her, that he just wanted to make sure that Piper was okay. She had not believed that either, had stood before him and folded her arms right across her chest and outright called him a liar to his face. Had still refused to give out any information on Piper. Izzy wouldn't even put in a call to Piper for him to make sure she was all right and safe. Stated flatly, if Piper was in trouble she would have called me and told me, and then glared right at him, took a step towards him and stared him down almost. No fear in her where he was concerned. One tough lady, which Bradley had thought the same thing the other day. After a full minute of the two of them just staring each other down with Eddie starting to get more than annoyed with the woman, she had pointed a finger right in his face and narrowed her eyes right at him, and he'd quoted her, "Tell your boss to get lost." Piper is not interested in a-holes who believe they can just have whatever they want because they are some big shot, rich, smug bastard who are used to walking all over everyone without a care as to the fallout. Then she had just turned and walked away from Eddie, stalked her way across the store to the front door, and yanked it open for Eddie to leave, had looked right at him pointedly and told him, "Get out, and do not come back. Get a dress elsewhere." Bradley was still frowning at the man for the term a-holes. He was not an asshole. He was actually quite liked by his pack, tried to keep everyone happy and well protected. As for the smug bastard, well, that would likely have come from his interaction with her himself earlier the day before. The walking over everyone without a care as to the fallout could be that Izzy knows more about him and Piper than he did. But hell, he'd not so much as looked at another she-wolf since learning about his unknown mate all them years ago. Just in case touching another one would still hurt her, he had no idea if a rejection was in place or not. He thought he had actually been very considerate of her, even though he'd had no actual proof of her being his mate. Not so much as even let a she-wolf near him in 8 damned years. Not an easy thing for an alpha-blooded male to do. Though it hadn't been that hard for him, likely because he had already tasted her and nothing else really interested him anymore. A telltale sign she was actually his goddess-gifted mate. He'd gone and searched that courtyard and found a small gate covered by the hedge that was growing along the courtyard walls, hidden from view but well-maintained. The gate had not even squeaked when he'd pushed through it. He had set Cooper up to watch it, had him mask his own scent so that she wouldn't pick up on the fact that there was someone there watching her. She had turned up again the next day, late in the afternoon, though Cooper had not gone in and confronted her or tried to explain anything to her. Instead, he had stayed outside due to the conversation his wolf-in hearing had picked up between her and Izzy. Apparently, Eddie had been given a nickname by the two of them, Mr. Yummy. It seemed that Piper and Izzy were very close indeed. Izzy had reported to Piper, just like Cooper or any of his unit would to him. Izzy had told Piper that she thought he was playing dirty to get at Piper, and that she didn't think Bradley was going to go away. Izzy was very right about that. It was very interesting to Bradley. Cooper and Harry that Izzy thought Bradley himself had a better chance of sweet-talking information out of her than Mr. Yummy did. Eddie had huffed and stared hard at Bradley for a long moment and then just turned away to look out the window. He was unhappy to hear that. It was clear to the whole room. Cooper had looked right at Bradley for a long moment, then just sighed a little on the heavy side, which had made everyone turn eyes on him, even Eddie from his place by the window. He'd not wanted to impart any more, but there was definitely more he had to report. Finally stated softly that Piper had a son, that his name was Brandon. Cooper had come back late that night, had managed to flag down a passing taxi and gotten him to trail her car home so he could lay eyes on the boy as well, stated he just wanted to confirm if what he'd heard was true. It was true. He had watched her pick the boy up and take him home. Then he'd just retired to his room shortly after he'd made his report, not said anything further on the matter at all. Bradley knew that there was more. Something else was going on. The whole bloody unit did. Cooper was not one to sit on information, so Bradley had strolled down to the man's suite himself after dinner, to give the man time to think about it and how he wanted to impart it, only to find that he was not there at all. Cooper had left the hotel without informing his alpha or any of the others at that. Bradley had called him right away and gotten the man's voicemail. Had stood and frowned in Cooper's room. He'd not said anything more about the boy, actually had not said anything about her or the boy, other than that he had trailed them home. He knew where the woman lived now. Had not imparted her address to him either, and now Bradley was starting to wonder if Piper did not live alone. She had a son. She could well have a human husband. If that was the case, Cooper likely wouldn't want to tell him at all, not considering what they all thought she was to him. He'd never scented her out. So he had no idea if her having asterisk with someone else would affect him. She'd stated her rejection and likely thought it was in effect, due to not one pain of betrayal since that night. She could well have found a human and gotten married. Bradley did not know how that was going to go down. Right this minute, Benson was agitated by the thought of his mate with another, seemed to kind of understand the situation, but was very unhappy with the thoughts that were rolling around inside his mind. They did not know the exact situation, didn't even have it confirmed she was his mate either, but they did believe this was the case. Both he and Benson did believe she was theirs deep down. Morning came and Cooper was still not back. Bradley had called the man a dozen times, damned near every hour on the hour. Something was definitely going on and he did not like it. He was still sitting in Cooper's room when the man finally let himself into his suite. He stopped and stared at Bradley when he saw him, then just sighed and closed the door behind him. What the hell is going on, Cooper? Bradley had snapped right at him, his anger showing. I spent the night watching her. Trailed her to work this morning as well. Leave it alone, Brad, for now. You said she had a son, he snapped, still angry. She does. I've been trying to get a photo of him. It's why I was out. He walked towards the bathroom. Cooper, whatever is going on? I need to know it. He'd gotten up and stalked after his beta to the bathroom, not ready to let it go, sitting waiting on the man all night that would not take his calls, rejected his own alpha's calls, his bloody best friend's calls at that. Had left Bradley ticking away like crazy. His annoyance with his beta had turned to anger. He'd not slept all night. Had prowled around and paced back and forth inside of Cooper's suite all damned night long, and just got more furious about the entire situation. We can't just take her, Bradley, not when she has a child to consider. More tact is going to be needed. I understand that. I just need to know if she is or isn't my mate. If she's not, I'll walk away, regardless of what father said. So did you get a picture? Of the boy? I did. Cooper nodded. I need a shower. Had a run this morning. I'll talk to you when I'm out. Then he'd shut the bathroom door right in Bradley's face. Bradley was hard-pressed not to kick the damn door in and Alpha order the information out of his beta, stood glaring at the door. He knew Cooper would have heard the snarl that came from Benson because of the lack of respect. Chapter 15. Bradley POV. Took that man 15 solid minutes to emerge from his shower. Bradley was starting to wonder if his beta was interested in the woman himself, so very evasive he was about her, had spent the night watching her. He didn't like it, and Benson was stalking around inside his mind, glaring out at the man. It would not have gone unnoticed by his beta that his alpha's wolf was on the surface, staring him down every 15 or 20 seconds, while they watched the man get dressed in clean clothes. What? His beta had snapped at him as he'd finally yanked a shirt on. Spill it or Benson is gonna order it out of you. What the hell is going on, Cooper? It's complicated, Brad, he'd sighed. The boy. He shook his head. Is definitely a wolf, already got his wolf too. What? How old is the boy? Brad was completely taken aback by this news. I don't know, I'm guessing 7, maybe 7 too. His beta was looking right at him. A wolf at 7? It was very unusual to have a wolf that young. He was an early shifter, he supposed. Cooper nodded. Aspen, I think is the wolf's name. At first I thought they were talking about some friend of the boy's, but this morning when the two of them went for a run, the boy's eyes, his wolf's eyes, they're white like his mother's wolf. He smiled just a little when she beat him. He was all annoyed and stalked off. Unhappy she had outrun him. To be expected, I guess. He's just little. What's the boy look like? Curiosity was itching his brain. His mother, actually, has the same light brown hair. Even the same highlights must be natural coloring. He has her fair skin too. His eyes, however, are not brown like hers. Bradley took a deep breath and asked the question he didn't want to think about. And the boy's father? Is there a man in the picture? No man that I saw, just her and the boy. I ran the plates to her car. It's registered to Piper Whitlock, so work and home lives are completely separated, I'm guessing. She's at work right now. He asked, was more than a little bit relieved that there was no man in the picture, calmed down a little. Benson was still agitated. Yes, the boy is at a birthday party from what I gleaned. Cooper sighed heavily. Bradley, how is Benson right now? What, why? A little annoyed and more than frustrated, but at you mostly. Curious about the boy. Why do you ask? Watched as Cooper pulled his phone out and then went through it, turned it over and slid it across the table they were sitting at, towards him. That's the boy. Bradley picked up the phone and looked at the boy. It was a picture of him smiling, coming down some stairs out the back of a house. His wolf, fully on the surface, looked very happy in the photo, and it clearly showed the wolf's white eyes. Benson pushed forward to look right at the boy himself, curious about the boy too. Cooper sighed again. There is more. He reached over and slid the screen to the left, brought up the next photo, and Bradley shot to his feet. As he looked at the boy now, it was like staring at his own eyes. In the reflection of a mirror, he'd know those eyes anywhere. His eyes moved to Cooper a second later. His heart was racing inside his chest, and Benson was not happy all of a sudden. He's yours, I'm willing to bet. Cooper sighed. Like I said, Brad, it's now complicated. Bradley turned his eyes back to the boy in the photo, stared at it for a long time. His brain was ticking, and Benson was now prowling around inside his mind, very unhappy. They did not sense the boy. Most alphas could sense their own offspring once they got their wolves. Benson did not sense him. Even now, Bradley could sense that his wolf was trying to feel out his son right this minute. He was getting nothing, and it was frustrating his wolf. Piper's reaction to him last week could have just been because she'd borne him a son and had not told him, might not be his mate after all. He sighed, and Benson snarled at him at that thought. Didn't like it at all. His wolf believed it even more now that there was a child. The timeline did fit, her leaving a child between them, the pain he'd felt. It had to be, she was going to be his mate, and he knew it. Stood there, actually uncertain as to what to do right this minute, where to go from here. Obviously, he couldn't just leave her out here, not his child for that matter. A male alpha child, a rogue. He suddenly realized she'd gone rogue, so his own son would have been born as a rogue as well. The boy would be in danger. The boy was the heir to his pack and likely had no idea who or what he was to that pack. Likely didn't even know who his own father was. Bradley doubted that Piper would have told him anything of his birth family. He'd likely never even seen the inside of a pack. May never have even seen another wolf at all. Swore out loud, we have to go and get them. I think more recon is needed. We know nothing of her life outside of work at all, Bradley. We should watch for now. Perhaps approach this differently. You can't just go stalking into her home and lay claim to the boy and take him. Actually, yes, I bloody can. Bradley corrected his beta. He is my son. So I bloody well can, and he could. He was an alpha and she'd left and taken his child with her. Though he did understand, there was no way she could have known for weeks about the pup, but still she could have come back and told him. Should have and didn't. Don't do it, Bradley, if she is your mate, and we all suspect she is. Including your father. Who now had a lot to say on the matter, I believe. She was hurt a lot. Likely damn near dying when she left, and you know it. You go in there and just try to rip that boy from her. Likely will end up in a wolf-on-wolf fight with her. Do you really want that? Benson going his own mate, or his mate going him? She-wolves are damned protective of their offspring, viscous, as a matter of fact. Mate or not, she will tear into you and Benson to keep him. Bradley did know it, that she'd been hurting a lot. Had researched into it, how long one could survive the pains of betrayal. It came down to how strong the wolf was, mentally and physically, how often they had to suffer the pains and for how long. What do you suggest then, Cooper? I have a child with Piper Whitlock, and both of them are currently rogues, living unprotected. It's not safe for either of them at all. I think we try and approach her gently, stop pushing so hard to get to her, give her some breathing room. Let things calm down in her world where you're concerned. Why don't you and I go and get you a look at your boy, see how Benson reacts to him, see how Brandon himself and his wolf feel with you close by. There should be some sort of connection between the two of you. Even now, Benson doesn't sense anything at all, Bradley muttered, and he should. Might be because you can't send her. What was it your father actually said? Bradley thought about that for a full minute, that she's not safe out there, to make sure that pendant she wears does not come off, especially around you three. My own alpha unit. It's weird, he really pressed that part. It is weird, Brad, but I'd be willing to bet it's the pendant that keeps her scent hidden. The pendant, he frowned, and why would one want to hide their scent? Yes, likely a protective charm of some sort. I watched her. She did not once put on any scent masking spray, got out of bed, got dressed, and then just went running. I smelled nothing. Got to be the pendant. She tucked it inside her gym top before the run. Got out of bed wearing it too. Bradley frowned. What do you think will happen if it gets taken off? He wondered out loud. Let's not risk that. Cooper commented. Trust your father on that one. Didn't he say it was likely her own mother's? Yes, a family heirloom. All Whitlocks wear them. He sighed. He was beginning to not like this at all. Stated he would contact her mother's pack to come and help out, talk to her. Something about her family she needs to know, though he also stated he thought she had been collected by her grandmother after her parents died and returned to her mother's old pack. Because he couldn't find her. Accounts for why she was never placed with another family then. Cooper nodded. I'll drive, leave Piper for today. She did get the feeling she was being watched yesterday and kept looking over her shoulder. Well, she knows we're here, trying to get to her, so no surprise there. Did you sleep at all? Yeah, in the woods. Her house backs right into a woodland area. I stayed close, so I could hear when they got up, not that I needed to. Brandon was all hopped up and ready to challenge Piper to a morning run. Apparently, his wolf wanted to kick her butt. Saw Cooper laugh softly. Doesn't sound as though he has had his wolf long. They were watching from a little way away as Brandon hung out with the kids from the birthday party. There were a good 24 children all running around in the very large yard. Bradley couldn't help but smile. The boy he could see not only knew every kid there, but was quite popular. The human kids always on him, even the birthday boy himself. That kid seemed to be his best buddy. He sat on the roof of their car, watching along with Cooper. Benson was up and watching as well. Though he couldn't feel any connection to the boy, Bradley did feel happy while he was watching the boy. He was glad he was a happy child, but Cooper had already told him that from what he had seen and heard. Piper and Brandon had a really good relationship. That he seemed happy and healthy was how he had explained it. But neither he nor Benson could sense out the boy at all. Just felt happy watching him. Cooper had taken him over to Piper's house. It was a nice-sized 2-story house, had 3 bedrooms and nice open-space living area upstairs, open-planned kitchen, living and dining area. Polished floorboards in the kitchen with a granite-topped island and 2 stools for them to use to eat breakfast at, he supposed. There was a good-sized deck off the dining area, and there was a table and chair setting out on that deck. There was a small yard not even fenced at all, and it had a couple of large stone stairs that led right into the wooded area behind the house. As Cooper had said it did. The house had no alarm, and Coop picked the lock to the back door in less than a minute. Access to her house was too easy. Bradley didn't like it if they could get in this easily, so could anyone else. Human or wolf or any other worldly creature for that matter. Piper's bedroom was large, had its own fireplace in the corner by the window, though it was gas and not natural wood burning. She had a massive ensuite with an attached walk-in wardrobe. Her suite took up 1/3 of the entire top floor. Though it was very simply decorated, a large queen-sized bed and 2 bedside tables in black wood, a simple black padded bedhead, and a chair by the fireplace, that was it. There were photos on the fireplace mantel, all of her and Brandon doing various activities, snowboarding, snorkeling, sailing, one of them indoor rock climbing, been to Disneyland and Universal Studios. There were several of just Brandon as a baby. One even of him surely just a day old, so tiny, all rugged up in a crochet baby blanket. Bradley picked one up and sighed. He'd had no idea he'd missed so much of the boy's life. He wanted to take 1 or 2 for himself, but didn't. Piper was going to know he had been here in her house, in her bedroom. In all likelihood, would be able to smell him. He didn't really care about that at this point. But he would not take something from her home it wasn't right. Piper was going to have to get used to smelling him. He wasn't going to give up, hadn't been before, but she had no hope of brushing him off now. He fully intended to bring her in and raise that boy in his pack, keep them both safe in the pack house. Brandon's room was full of things he wanted for nothing, had everything he could possibly want. There was a snowboard up on a hook on the wall, a pair of ice skates hanging just below it. He had baseball gear in one corner of his room, had a soccer ball and basketball in a bag inside his walk-in. The boy had a large king single bed and a shelf of track and field medals that made Bradley smiled, touched them all, read them all first or second place. He was fast, it seemed. There was a study desk under the window that looked out over the backyard, and next to the window was a large pinboard with lots more photos. The boy had traveled with Piper all around the world, it seemed. There were pictures of him and her at the Eiffel Tower in France, near Big Ben in London, the Sydney Opera House in Australia, on the Great Wall of China. He shook his head. This kid had been to so many places not even he had been. There were a few of them snowboarding, and recently he realized, likely on the long weekend, she had gone away, it seemed. He plucked a photo from the board and turned it over. There was nothing written on it, but he looked like he did now. Opened the boy's computer and turned it on. Password protected, he sighed. Try Aspen. Coop smiled at him as he leaned on the bedroom door frame. What are you smiling about? He asked him. You, just touching everything, can't seem to help yourself. Ha ha, Bradley muttered, but the man was right. He did want to touch everything. Typed Aspen in and it worked. Sat himself down in the boy's chair and went through his photo gallery. Sure enough, there were more photos and he could see they were just downloaded this week. So definitely recent, there were quite a few of just him and a few of him and Piper smiling up at the camera. They did look happy in every photo. It made him sad to know he'd missed out on so much, but there was nothing he could do about it. Walked into the third bedroom and found it wasn't a bedroom but a studio in which she could work from home. Found a ripped-up dress hanging off a mannequin in the back corner of the room, slightly behind a decorative privacy screen. The mannequin had also seen better days, he noted. Though the rest of the room was immaculate, it looked very similar to her store studio, including the comfortable high-backed wing chair. Touched her computer on the desk next to the door. It was also password protected. Neither he nor Coop could cock it. Wasn't Brandon, Harper, Whitlock, wasn't Bradley or the pack's names. Wasn't Jewel or Talone either. They weren't going to be able to cock it. They didn't know that much about her. The house was neat and tidy. Even Brandon's room, though full of stuff, was in an orderly manner. Seems Piper liked to keep things in order. The place, he noted, had minimal furniture. There was no clutter at all other than the photos, and a few framed magazine covers with her name on them in her studio. There was nothing at all. Bradley frowned and looked around at the downstairs. There was nothing, not even a vase. Basic furniture only. No art prints on the wall, not even souvenirs from their trips, and they had been all over the world. Turned and walked back up the stairs, looked at the open-spaced living area. It had a gaming vibe to it. Likely Brandon's space. The boy's room was full of stuff. Her room, however, when he went back into it, nothing on either of the bedside tables bar a phone docking recharging station. There were no prints on the walls in here either. It was a bedroom without clutter, no real personal touches, just those photos. There was nothing here that said who she was at all. Walked into her ensuite and looked at the dual sinks. There were just the basic items needed: toothbrush, toothpaste, a hairbrush and deodorant, and one bottle of moisturizer. No clutter in here either. Now he had seen many female bathrooms. They were covered in products, makeup and hair dryers and straighteners, curlers, perfumes, and all sorts of other things. Opened the drawers. Only the top one had anything in it: makeup, neatly stacked, so she could see what was in there. Opened the cupboards, found only a hair straightener and a curler. Just bare basic needs. Turned and headed into her closet. It was loaded with clothing, from gym wear to casual jeans and t-shirts, to a few summer dresses. Then there was a section of suits, work wear, he guessed. Even owned several evening gowns and cocktail dresses. Plenty of clothes for all occasions. He did note 3 large suitcases on the floor along the back wall, all just simple and plain. Frowned as he looked about. Brandon had everything he could possibly want or need. Piper had nothing. It was weird. What's wrong, Brad? Cooper asked him. It's odd, like Brandon lives here, but she doesn't. It's all Brandon and nothing is about her at all. Like she doesn't. He shook his head. He didn't know. Maybe the less stuff she had, the less time it takes to pack. Maybe thinking ahead, to run again, as a rogue, might have to run sometimes, so she doesn't see a point in collecting anything, he offered up. Could be, but then why is Brandon's room full to the brim? Bradley shook his head. It's weird, like she doesn't want others to see who she really is when she has visitors. She might not. Cooper sighed, been on her own, Brad, for a very long time. Not healthy for wolves to live alone. He sighed. Not good, they were social creatures. She'd isolated herself from her own kind, had good reason to, but all he could see now in her own home was that there was still nothing personal about her. It felt lonely, he realized. Her part of the house was cold and lonely, wondered if that was how she really felt. No, it's not. Cooper agreed. Come on, we should go before she comes home. She's going to smell me in here regardless. I know, you touched everything, even her stuff. Coop was smiling again. Come on, let's go check on Brandon once more before deciding on a plan of action to take. She's going to run, once she realizes I know about Brandon. Brad sighed heavily. She won't go far, got 3 businesses to run, Bradley. She knows you're stalking her, hasn't left, just trying to limit exposure to you, and once she finds out Hadley is your little sister, things will be different between the two of you. I'm sure of it. Chapter 16. Piper POV. Piper heard the male Canadian accent in the store and felt Harper bristle inside of her mind right away. Heard him state his name was Timothy Avery and that he wanted to see Piper Harper. She got up from her desk as quietly as possible and headed for the back door, was about to step out of the building when she heard him, sounded fully amused to her ear at that, tell Pipe, not to leave, my men are out back. Stilled her hand on the door handle. He'd been actively listening for her with his alpha wolf's hearing. He might have been talking to Laura downstairs, but he knew that she would hear him. This was not what she needed right now. 2 bloody alphas hunting her and both of them trying to force her into making dresses at that. Why did alpha wolves have little to no respect for others? Looked out the door to her balcony and down the stairs, saw a man casually leaning on the stairs railing at the very bottom. He looked right up at her, smiled, also seemed amused to her. Obviously, he'd been told she was likely going to leave. They were prepared for it. She stepped back inside her office. She could hear Laura coming up the stairs and the footfall behind her, walked back over and sat down at her desk once more. There was no getting away. He'd stated his men, which meant nothing to Laura, but to Piper, she knew it meant his alpha unit was with him. It was very unlikely that she would be able to get away from them. She'd only seen the one, but he had stood right where he could be seen on purpose. The other 2 could be anywhere for all she knew, out in the alley, or just standing around blocking all the exits to her building. That was the likely position. Watched as Laura came into her office. Sorry, Piper, this gentleman insists on seeing you. It's fine, Laura, I'm nearly done for the day anyway. She waved her out of the office. Couldn't blame the woman. It was not her fault. Turned her eyes on Alpha Timothy. Why are you here? She asked bluntly as she watched him look about her office. Touched a few of her framed photos, picked up one of her awards and smiled after he read it. You've done very well for yourself, Piper, I'm proud of you. Piper watched him put it back on the shelf, then undo the buttons on his suit jacket. A single-breasted, navy blue suit with a gray pinstripe was tailored for him, had been made for him, she realized. He sank down in the chair on the other side of her desk. He was still smiling. "'Tis amazing, you've gotten so well recognized in the human world, yet stayed hidden from your own kind for so very long. Is it?" she asked, not really caring for his opinion at all. It was not amazing to her. She'd never been recognized by her kind, so it was not amazing at all. It was just how her life had always been. As for the humans, they did see her, didn't rely on their sense of smell to recall people, actually used their eyes to see people. For a rogue, yes. He smirked right at her. Changed your name to fit in with the humans? Or changed your name to hide from your old pack? He questioned her. I do not have to explain myself to you, she stated flatly. What do you want? She rephrased her original question. I should think that is obvious, he stated simply. But did not elaborate. It, however, was not obvious to her. He'd not brought Celeste with him, so if he wanted her to make that dress, the girl should be with him for sizing and measurements to be taken. If he was here to threaten her, he'd not stated that yet. If he was here because he knew who she actually was, it could well be that he was an enemy of Bradley Drake, her former alpha, and he'd picked up on Brandon's bloodline. It could be one of many things. Blackmail again, she muttered, to force me into your pack. To tell me you've informed the Wolfen Council of my illegal businesses. Or you could be here to hurt me and my son for that matter. I would never hurt you or Brandon. It's not my style, young lady. I do, however, disapprove of you and your son being unaffiliated, so yes, I would like to bring you in. He nodded, leaning back in his chair to just watch her. I'm not interested, Piper told him honestly, and she was not. Pack life had not suited her at all, been damned painful in the end. You might not be, but you will be coming along, he told her in his no-nonsense alpha tone. Will I now? She snorted. He couldn't actually make her do anything. She didn't belong to him or his pack. You actually can't make me. No, he admitted, I can't. But I can make your life very uncomfortable, till you fall into line. My entire life has been uncomfortable, she shrugged. You have no idea what my life was like before I left it behind. What I went through, or how much I can put up with being uncomfortable for that matter. I can well imagine, he sighed heavily, to go rogue or one so young and female. It must have been traumatic. I'm not going back to pack life. I don't like wolves, I'm not one anymore, so just leave, she snapped at him. He was staring right at her now. She knew why. She had just insulted his kind and renounced them in the same breath, claimed she was no longer one. His pale blue eyes were boring into hers, a deep frown on his face. He'd not liked her words at all, and she knew it. You're still one, and your son as well. You can't just declare not to be one of us, when it is who you are. Can't I? Even Harper rolled her eyes at that. She'd stopped emerging and showing herself when she was 20. They were now just two minds at this point. No, you can't, he stated flatly. I beg to differ. I've lived as a human for a very long time, and I intend to do so for the foreseeable future, and she did. She had nothing to go back to. Bradley did not and never would recognize her. Hell, the man had even been granted a second chance, mate. Something Piper and Harper alike were hoping the goddess who'd cursed them once would see fit to spare them that. Once was enough. Neither of them ever wanted to go through that pain again. Not ever. You're not safe out here, Piper. Neither is your son. He's alpha-blooded, I can tell. That is none of your business. As for not safe, I've been out here alone minding my own business since before he was born. No issues, no threats, till you, that is. So go back where you came from, problem solved. Not going to happen, Piper. He shook his head. I'm not leaving my businesses, and I'm not going to your pack. You can keep the businesses, they're doing very well. We'll make an impressive investment for any pack. I'll just register them and make them legal. You can open one closer to the pack, and be provided with staff from within the pack. Nice and safe, like how it should always have been. The ones you have here on the West Coast can stay and be run by your human employees. Nothing will change. No, thank you. I'm not leaving, Piper. You will be falling into line. I will not be. She shot right back. Actually saw him laugh. Oh, child, I think you will be, like I said. I'll be making your life very uncomfortable till you do. My men here are not all that I brought with me, and it's not gone unnoticed that there is another alpha and his unit watching your store. Her jaw tightened. I am a rogue, and I will be staying that way. No, you will not be. You have family out there, other Whitlocks. I actually know a couple of them. Told them I'd come across you at the Alpha meeting in Whistler. They were more than shocked by your rogue status, also more than a little horrified, actually. I don't care, she snapped. I've had enough. Get out of my office, get out of my store. She did not want to hear about others. A family she knew nothing about. They had not come to help her when she'd lost her parents, likely only here now due to what Brandon was. No, Timothy stated firmly. I'll call the police and have you arrested for harassment. Piper shot right at him and meant it. Saw his jaw tighten. Now, I'll take you. Long before they get here, Piper. He snarled right at her. Didn't like her threatening him. It seemed he could dish out threats, but couldn't take one himself. You and I will go and pick up Brandon and go to my pack, or I will have my men collect him without you. I do know where he is right at this minute. In fact, I do believe my men aren't the only ones watching the boy. That snapped her head up. Saw him smile smugly at her, at the fear that shot through her. Don't you dare threaten my son. It was Harper fully on the surface and snarling at him. Watched as his wolf also pulled forward and stared right at her. His eyes were white just like Harper's, a smile touched his face, and then his wolf receded. You will be coming home, Piper. It is where you and your boy belong. You need to be protected, as your alpha and I am. I will order it. Harper snorted. She didn't want to get into a fight with him. He was like her. It seemed you're not alone, Piper, neither is your wolf. Your life likely was not fun. Come in, let the Whitlock elders talk to you. Please, I will ask nicely, just one more time. Then I will force you, and you nor your wolf will like it. She was glaring right at him, and as if to make his point. She saw his eyes glaze over, and then a moment later, there was movement on her balcony, and the bell chimed on the store's front door. He looked right at her pointedly, pulled his phone out and called someone. Take a photo of the boy as proof, send it directly back to me. He hung up. Took less than 15 seconds before he turned the phone around and showed her a picture. It was Brandon at his friend Finley's birthday party. Up, Piper, he said and stood himself. We'll take your car so as not to upset the boy. Piper did not like this, but she could not escape. There was a man on her balcony bearing her exit that way, and now there were two standing just inside her office doorway as well, bearing her exit. And she doubted she'd make it past the Alpha to her studio door, not that that would help, only lead back into the store. He was clearly going to force her hands, to get what he wanted from her, if she didn't comply with his wishes, glared right at the man, showing her full displeasure at the situation. It's for the best, Piper, just trust me, he told her. He sounded like he was trying to reassure her. She did not trust him, not at all. Stood up and grabbed her handbag. She and Harper would not risk Brandon being taken by him or his men. The boy was all they had, and he had Aspen, not yet fully realized, but this could force his wolf to emerge and shift him for the first time. She didn't want that, he was very young. Call your men off now, she snapped right at him. He nodded and saw him wave his unit to back away. Not those men. The ones on my son, she grated out, could actually feel Harper's aggression growing inside her. Nothing ticked her wolf off like a threat to their child. She'd not shifted in years, didn't even know if they could anymore. But somewhere deep down inside of her, Piper was willing to bet that Harper would shift her to her gray and white wolf if it was the only way to save their son. Harper was right this minute, stalking around inside of Piper's mind. All her hackles were up and her ears were flat back against her head. She was walked to her car in the car park, glared at his unit as she unlocked her Nissan Rogue. Are they all coming? No, just me. Timothy smiled at her. He waved his unit away. They'll follow in our car in a minute. He got in the front passenger seat. This is a nice vehicle, he commented as he looked it over. She already knew that, had even splashed out and got the platinum model with all the high-tech safety features and the Pro Pilot Assist, made for easier driving, considering she'd not learned to drive until away from the pack. Had only bought her first car at 23, and then bought this car just a year ago, really liked her car, was actually considering it for all her company cars. Nissan Rogue just really tickled her funny bone, because she was a rogue, but it did have all the room needed as well. Drove all the way to Finley's house to pick up Brandon. She was a bit early, but that could not be helped. Got out of the car, as did Alpha Timothy. Stay here, I don't need Brandon freaking out, she muttered as she walked past him, saw him stop and lean back on the car, acknowledged her words. Walked down the path and rang the doorbell, apologized to Finley's mother, Suzanne, about having to pick Brandon up early, saw the woman look to the man by her car and then smile at her. He's nice looking, your boyfriend? No. Piper shook her head, did not elaborate any further. Brandon was surprised to see her. We have a visitor, she told him, and he frowned up at her, then looked more than annoyed when she walked him outside and his eyes landed on Alpha Timothy. Watched as Alpha Timothy stood and even opened the back door for Brandon to get in the car. He was smiling at the boy, ruffled the boy's hair. Good to see you, son. He smiled right down at him. Brandon jerked himself out of the way and climbed up into the car, but it was the rather loud growl that she heard from somewhere behind her that made her turn her head. Saw Alpha Timothy's head whip around as well, as he closed the door. Get in the car, Piper, he snapped. His eyes were already searching and she saw him breath in, trying to scent who it was. Not mine, he confirmed. In the car now, he repeated himself. Piper hurried around the car. She'd never had this problem before. Not till this man Bloody showed up, had likely brought trouble with him. She was in the car. Bucky up, she told Brandon as she put the keys in the ignition. Her eyes were still on Alpha Timothy. He was still searching the area and did not think about the fact that she was now in her car alone with her son. Likely thought she would just do as he told her to. Turn the engine over and hit the central locking to lock him out. Put the car in drive. Saw his eyes move right to hers as he realized what she was about to do. Reached for the door handle as she hit the accelerator and then sped off down the street. Saw him in the rearview mirror, just stand there and put his hands on his hips and shake his head. Stupid man should never have gotten out of the car. Now he was alone and with whoever had growled at them. Mom? I don't know, we have to go, Brandon, she told him honestly. Where will we go? What did he want this time? Where? She had no idea right this second, was just driving away. She didn't think their house would be safe. Obviously he'd been watching her. Likely what she'd felt yesterday, wants us to go and live in his pack in Canada. She answered his other question, was not going to lie to him. What? Why? I don't know, she shook her head. He just turned up. Turned onto the 126 and headed into the city. Turned off at Green Hills and made her way into Portland Heights, where Izzy lived. She was not home currently, but Piper had a key. Hopefully they would be safe there until she could think of something or somewhere to. Is Auntie Izzy home, Mum? Brandon asked as they pulled up in her driveway and the car wasn't there. No, away. Out in Maine. I'm sure she won't mind. I'll call her once we're inside. Use the key and let herself in. Brandon looked worried. It'll be okay, Brandon. She tried to reassure him. He just looked at her, didn't believe her. She couldn't blame him either. Their life had been turned upside down by Alpha Timothy a week ago, and now here he was, back again to harass them. It should be her choice to live inside a pack or not. Yes, he could forcibly bleed her into his pack. But he couldn't stop her from going rogue all over again. No one could stop that. And it was what she would do. They just had to stay hidden for now. Till she could figure out a plan. She was due to leave with Izzy for Sydney in just a month. Perhaps she and Brandon could go earlier and have Izzy follow. That could work. Side gave Brandon the TV remote. Find something to watch. I'll go and call Izzy. Watched him nod. She walked through the house to Izzy's bedroom and closed the door before sitting on the bed and dialing her number. The poor woman was going to be stuck in the middle when she got back. Needed to be given a heads up on the current situation. Hey Piper, what's wrong? She asked right away. Piper sighed. I got trouble, Elsie's why. She answered honestly. I got hauled in by this big shot CEO called Timothy Avery when I was away with Brandon to design a dress for his daughter. Now he's turned up at the store and is demanding I go with him back to Canada. Say no. I did. He threatened to just take Brandon and make me. We're at your place. Managed to get Brandon and run with him. She sighed. Didn't know how long it was going to be safe here either. That's fine. Stay as long as you like. What about Drake Industries? Are those men still around? I don't know, to be honest. I haven't seen them, though now that she thought about it, Timothy had told her he knew there was another alpha watching her. I don't think they've left, she added. Then there was that growl. It was definitely a wolf out at Finley's place. You need me to come back? No, Izzy. Just wanted to give you a heads up as to what to expect when you get back is all. You're suddenly very popular, Piper. Who's this Timothy Avery guy? I get Mr. Drake and his sudden obsession. He might have seen Brandon. Those eyes are unmistakable. He would recognize his own son. I imagine, from his eyes. But what's with the new guy? She was not wrong. If Bradley had seen Brandon or even one of his unit, they would likely have wanted to get up close to the child. Perhaps that was the growl at Finley's Bradley or one of his unit. Now that she thought about that moment, it had been when Timothy had called him son. She bit her lip. She didn't know. I don't know about Timothy Avery, but he calls me Piper Whitlock, Izzy. Not Piper Harper, said he knows others in my family. What family? I thought you appeared fully grown here in Portland. She teased her a little, trying to lighten the mood. I don't know, my mother and father died when I was 10. I have no idea, and she didn't. Yes, his wolf had white eyes like Harper and Aspen, but it could just be a coincidence. Looked into Drake Industries on my flight out here. Mr. Bradley Drake is a very wealthy bachelor. He's not a bachelor, he is getting married soon. Piper sighed, it's why the girl came in, she's his wife-to-be. What, no way? He's like 36, his bio states, that girl can't be more than 18 or 19-inch. It is what it is, Piper murmured, it's why he's demanding I make her the dress she wants. Wants her to have everything her heart desires. She felt pain touch her heart at the thought. Couldn't help it. That girl was getting everything and Piper had got nothing. It still hurt, would likely always hurt, she imagined. Sorry, Piper, she heard the compassion in Izzy's voice. I was nothing to him, Izzy, she said out loud, even heard the pain in her own voice. I never was, never will be, she sighed, really wanted to move on, wanted to forget him. But just couldn't seem to do it. Hell, she had thought they had moved on until that girl walked into her life. Till he'd walked her right into her studio and stood next to her, demanding she have everything she wanted. Piper, are you really all right? No, she answered truthfully, but he'll leave and give up. It's just a damn dress. That girl can get something else made. Or buy off my rack, I don't really care which, and she didn't. Just wanted that man and his mate away from her, for good. Chapter 17. Bradley POV. His eyes landed on Piper's car as it pulled up. Cooper had told him that she owned a red Nissan Rogue. Both he and Cooper stepped behind their rental car and out of sight. They didn't want her to spot them. His eyes fell on the man inside the car, couldn't see him clearly with the sun hitting the windshield and causing glare. When she got out of her SUV, she did not look happy. The man also got out. Bradley used his wolf's hearing to pick up her words. Stay here, I don't need Brandon freaking out. Watched the rather large man lean on her car and watch her, turned his sight to Piper, heard the conversation she had with the woman at the door. Not her boyfriend. Felt actual relief at that. He's a wolf, Coop told him via the mind link. While Bradley was focused on Piper, his beta was focused on the man, it seemed. His eyes moved back to him. An alpha wolf, Bradley confirmed as he breathed in deeply, using all Benson's senses to pick up what rank he was, account for the size of the man. What he was doing here with her, leaning so casually on her car, the man looked very comfortable. She had not, though. From her comment, it was likely that Brandon would also know this man, and wasn't going to like him being there either. Saw the boy's facial expression at the sight of that man by their car and actually smiled. His boy did not like the man, it was clear. Had to watch that man touch his son's head. Good to see you, son. Those words ripped a very large and aggressive growl right out of his wolf Benson. He was not about to contain it. There was another alpha laying claim to his child, not something he or Benson were at all happy about. Cooper's hand on his shoulder, a firm grip, saw with satisfaction as Brandon pulled himself away from that alpha wolf. A good boy knew that man was not his father. Saw both Piper and the alpha's head whip around to see where it had come from, and Bradley's eyes widened as he recognized that alpha they were allied packs, Alpha Timothy Avery, of the Ice Moon Pack. He told Cooper via the mind link, though it was likely his beta also recognized the man, her mother's home Pax Alpha. Perhaps your father got a hold of him? Maybe, but they definitely know him. Brandon doesn't like him, that's for sure, Coop agreed. Saw her get in the car while Alpha Timothy searched the area, idiot she'll run. Bradley thought. It was clear to him that Piper didn't want him around. Watched her start that car of hers and just speed away, shook his head. How did Alpha Timothy not see that coming? Even he had. Saw the man just stand there and watch her drive away, shake his head. Didn't seem all that concerned. Is that you, Alpha Bradley? He called out as he reached into his top jacket pocket and pulled out his phone. Bradley frowned. Likely his father had gotten call in. He and Cooper moved into the man's line of sight. He strolled towards them while talking to who Bradley presumed was his beta. Informed them to be on the lookout for her. She had driven away while he was distracted. Ended the call and looked right at him. Alpha Bradley, that could have gone much better if you had not interfered. I had her now. He waved a hand down the street. Gone. What do you mean? You had her. Your father called. She's actually my cousin and had managed to pull her in. Didn't look happy about it, Bradley commented, and she had not, and, by the speeding away, didn't want to be pulled in as he stated. She's willful. I had to threaten her to get my way. Like I did the first time I came across her. You threatened her? Not even I have resorted to that. He did not like it at all. Surely there was a better way. You have an agenda, I believe. I only want to get her to my grandmother. Those two need to sit and talk. Your issue. The boy is yours, I'm guessing. Should have picked it when I saw him the first time. Bradley did not say anything, just looked at the man. I'm curious how he was conceived, and you will be explaining that to me, especially why she went rogue. I guess, Bradley shot right back. We should both ask that question. Saw the man frown right at him. We'll take your car, Timothy stated calmly. To where exactly? Her place. I will need her and the boy's passports, so she can come into Canada. And you think I am just going to let you take her and my son? He snapped. Benson was getting angrier by the second. Yes, I do, Bradley. We're allies, have been for many decades, and I need her to understand about herself, her lineage before you come in and try to get the boy. He will not want to go with you, fiercely protective of his mother. Bradley frowned now as he got in the car. What are you talking about? What do you know? That his wolf appeared last weekend, when I confronted her about disrespecting my daughter in front of a room full of alphas no less. Doesn't respect any ranking system. I don't think, not anymore anyway, have been a rogue too long. The boy, he screamed right at me, his wolf right on the surface. It was the first time she saw it. Panicked, tried desperately to calm him down. Didn't want him shifting in broad daylight, in front of a bunch of humans. Bradley's frown deepened. That's unusual, and it was the boy was just 7. Very, but it appears his alpha genes make him very strong. Unfortunately, he'll be just like her, like me and all the Whitlocks, though most males are fine. The women, however, he sighed and looked out the side window. However, end up dead at a very young age if they don't know what they are. Killed by their own pack usually. The man sounded sad. Bradley's eyes turned right on the man questioningly. He did not like what he was hearing. Elaborate. I'd rather not. He looked at Bradley. How is the child conceived? Bradley's jaw tightened. I'd rather not. He used the man's own words on him and turned to face forward again. If it was rape, Bradley, I will alpha duel you to the death, he commented casually. Bradley understood that he meant it though. Not only did he mean it, he did not intend to lose that duel either. He had seen the man fight. He was a fierce wolf. It was not that, he stated. I have never done that, ever to anyone. Won't want her to say it was. I will be asking her. Believe her words over anyone else's and act accordingly. Your father has a pack agreement with mine about that girl, and no harm to her from your pack or, he snorted, sounded a little amused. You might want to dig it up, Bradley, and read it yourself. Cooper pulled the car up out the front of Piper's house. They all got out and he watched as Timothy clicked a small black box and the garage door opened, and the man simply strolled into the house like he had a right to be there. Walked up the stairs to let himself into her house like he had been here before. They waited outside by his car for 20 minutes. More of the man's wolves turned up. He recognized the man's Beta Ryan. Right away, Alpha Bradley, Cooper. He nodded to them both as he walked over. The boss still inside? Searching for passports. Bradley nodded. He leaned on the car next to him. She's a handful, I see. He smiled, like her mother was and her grandmother for that matter. Bradley said nothing, watched as Timothy came out empty-handed and shook his head. Couldn't find them. Likely on her all the time. Cooper offered up she's a rogue and would likely keep them handy to her for exactly this kind of thing, I'd be guessing. Bradley sighed, as did Timothy. Bradley, I would appreciate it if you let me and my men handle my cousin. Bring her in and get her to understand what she is. Before you come and lay claim to the boy. It's not just the boy, Timothy. I believe she is my mate, he told the man. Now that got his attention. He was looking right at Bradley now, a deep frown on his face. You could not know this. Would be unsentible to you. She is. I don't smell anything at all, but, there was an incident, he sighed. Only a select few know what I am going to tell you. No one here will speak of it. Timothy. I suffered the pain of rejection, but did not have a mate at the time. It was also the day that Piper went rogue from the pack, which compounded my pain. My gamma picked up on her pain of the rejection at the same time. So we believe she is my mate. Unusual, but if she rejected you, your bond is over. It was not to my face. I woke up in agony not knowing what was going on. I have also never accepted it, didn't even know I had a mate. Then, a long story I guess, for another time. I'll bring her in and let you know when I have her. Will that work for you? I don't like it, he admitted, but due to certain unfortunate circumstances, Piper believes Hadley is my mate. I haven't, nor any of my men, have been able to get even so much as a phone call through to her to tell her it's not the case. How on earth does one think your little sister is your mate? He shook his head, seemed confused as well as unhappy. Hadley insisted on getting a Piper Harper gown. I finally let her, sent my unit with her for protection while she was here. Didn't go down so well. So well. Cooper snorted. She made Hadley cry. Timothy shook his head, understood right away, and you, the overprotective big brother, came in and tried to lay the law down and demanded Hadley gets what she wants, right? And Alpha insisting on a Luna gown for a girl. Yes. Bradley nodded simply. Stupid Bradley. How was I supposed to know? I didn't even know Piper Harper was a previous pack member. Then how do you know now? Her reaction to seeing me with Hadley, pain rolled off of her in waves, and then she just bolted out of the store. Made a new protocol for her company to never accept anyone from Drake Industries for an appointment. Kind of all just, he shrugged, fell into place, though it was Hadley that made the comment that Piper's whole body just went crazy, and it did. I'd never seen a reaction like that to just me walking into a room before. Hadley thought Piper reacted like a mate would. No one in my pack bar my unit and my doctor know what happened to me that day, so it was an unusual statement. Gained my attention and made me really think about her reaction. How old was she, Bradley, when she went rogue? 21, he answered honestly. Saw the man close his eyes and swear under his breath. Obviously knew the ramifications. Right? Let me handle it, he muttered. Ryan, did you jack her car? Of course, he snorted like it was a stupid question. Go home, Bradley, please. I'll keep you informed, and once she's calm and understands, I'll send for you, and we'll do this the Whitlock way of finding out if she is your mate or was. Just ask her, she'll know, right? Yes, he nodded, but for you to know to actually send her, that's another matter. We'll get to that once I've got her brought in, and then he just turned and walked away, his beta falling into step with him. Alpha Timothy, he addressed him by his full title. No harm will come to her or the boy, I give you my word. And I will not tell her you know either. You can do that yourself. There was not much he could do at this point. He was certain Timothy was not going to hurt her or his child. They were his kin. He was also very certain that he was not going to allow Bradley or his unit to assist in her capture either. Didn't like it, didn't like that he had threatened her. Wondered what that threat was. Chapter 18. Bradley POV. Bradley was standing at the reception desk waiting to check out of the hotel with Cooper and Hadley. They'd had a late breakfast, seeing as their flight back to Montana wasn't until lunchtime, looked at the number on his phone when it rang. Alpha Timothy IMP. Picked it up. Maybe the man had gotten her already. Bradley Drake, he answered in the human way due to where he was and the humans all around him. Bradley, Timothy Avery. Then the man sighed. Bradley closed his eyes. He just knew that something had gone wrong. What is it, Timothy? Piper got away, he muttered. Didn't your beta low jack her car? He asked, more than annoyed. He'd heard that very conversation himself. Yes. Timothy sounded annoyed as well now. I thought we'd let her settle down for the night. The car didn't move all night. When we got there this morning to collect her, the car was still there, but no Piper, no Brandon. Bradley sighed now and knew he should have insisted on going himself. Did you not watch her, or at least where she spent the night, put a guard on her at least? I did, must have left before we got there. Heard the man huff. I'm just as annoyed as you are, Bradley. I doubt it. That's my son you lost, and likely my mate, he grated out, uncaring that Hadley would be hearing this conversation. Only he and Cooper knew at this point about the boy. He still hadn't informed his Gamma or Delta. Do you have any idea where they are? No. Where did she leave the car? Bradley changed his train of thought, thinking now of how to track her. She'd gone somewhere, and that somewhere would likely be to someone she trusted. He was betting he knew who. The mail states Isabel Jenkins. Broadly frowned. Isabel Jenkins. He mused aloud. Then he sighed. Izzy turned his eyes to Cooper, ignored the very concerned look he was getting from his sister, who now appeared way more concerned about the situation now she'd heard him say his son. You've got Izzy's details, right? I'll call her, though I likely won't have any luck, but... Saw the man pull out his phone. Izzy is Piper's assistant manager. They are quite close. Bradley informed Timothy while they waited. Where else do you think she will go? Timothy asked. Your guess is as good as mine on that. I'll have my men make some calls to her other stores. She could have gone off to Olympia or LA. I'll get back to you, Timothy. He hung up and closed his eyes, took in a deep breath, and then let it out slowly. A rogue on the run with no describable scent to track. Didn't even smell like a rogue for that matter, just freaking great. Looked at Cooper, he was frowning. What? He asked when the man hung up. Voicemail. Told the receptionist at their hotel they would like to stay at least one more night, maybe two, instead of checking out. Then drove them to her store here in Portland. It was open. He walked in and saw the woman behind the counter smile right up at him. He'd not seen her before. He might have some luck on his side. Glanced at her name tag, Laura. Morning, Laura. He smiled right at her, heard her heart rate quicken, smiled a bit more as he leaned right on the counter, getting closer to her. I'm looking for Izzy. Cheeky woman stood me up. Heard a little disappointment in her tone. Oh, she must have forgotten to tell you. She's home in Maine for her sister's wedding, not back till Wednesday. Naughty of her indeed. I must punish her when she comes back, he chuckled softly, allowing his tone to imply it would be a fun bedroom punishment. You wouldn't happen to have the number where she's staying now, would you? He asked, saw the woman nod her head. I do actually, in case there is an emergency. Oh, wouldn't you just call Piper for that? He threw out all casual-like, giving off the air that he knew her as well. No, Izzy runs everything. Oh, could I have that number for Izzy? She needs a naughty phone call, she does. He winked right at Laura. Saw her blush as she understood his meaning, and nodded. Give me a second. I'll write it down for you. And she did just that, wrote down 2 numbers actually. He raised an eyebrow at her. That's her family home number where she's staying, and that is the work mobile she always carries. Thank you, Laura. Oh, and tell Piper I said to say hello. He pushed up off the counter. I will when I see her. Not in today then? No, not for a while. I heard working from home. Well, tell her. Bradley said to say hello. Next time you see her. Watched as the woman's eyes went a little wide. He smiled as it dawned on the woman she'd just given out information to a man she ought not to have. Bradley who? She asked, sounding concerned. Drake, he commented. Thanks for the info, Laura. You were most helpful. He smirked right at he, then strolled out the door. Humans sometimes just couldn't keep their full wits about them, when faced with his eyes and charming smile, and he laid it all on for that woman. Got 2 numbers for Izzy in Maine. Nothing on Piper. Though I dare say that woman in there is now terrified she's going to be fired, he chuckled to himself. Leaned back in the seat of the car and put a call into the works mobile number. It answered on the 4th ring. Goddess Gowns, Izzy speaking. Isabel Jenkins. He used her full name to clarify that Isabel was Izzy. Yes, how may I help you? Where is Piper, Izzy? I have nothing to say to you. Mr. Drake, I presume. If you don't tell me, I will come to you. Heard her laugh. Go ahead, come and find me. Good luck with that. He smiled to himself. Laura was very forthcoming, Izzy. You're in Maine at your sister's wedding. Stupid woman, he heard her mutter. Even if you come here. I will not tell you what you want because I don't know. I don't believe you, Bradley told her simply, and he didn't. Well now, that is your problem, isn't it? Then the line was disconnected. She was so very stubborn, just like Piper. No wonder they got along. Cooper, find out all there is about Isabel Jenkins from Maine. Dialed Eddie's number and waited for the line to connect. Didn't take long. Hey Brad, what's up? Piper's gone. Timothy scared her off. Izzy is in Maine. How would you like another cock at her? I would love it. He could not only hear the smile in the man's voice, but pure determination as well. Go get her. She's at her sister's wedding. He read out the home number for him so Eddie could track it to an address. I give you permission to charm that woman's socks off, or anything else you need off. To get me information about Piper's whereabouts, she went to Izzy's place. then just vanished. So you're betting Izzy knows where she is then? Yes, I'd bet everything I own on it, he agreed. Let me know when you get the information. Will do. He sat and thought about it, wondered how far that woman would go to get away from an alpha or two of them, now. Wondered what Timothy had threatened her with to make her go and get Brandon and return to his pack. She'd not looked happy, that was a certainty. Neither had his son. Put a call into the man and asked him just that. Was completely furious at the man's answer, and so was Benson, who snarled right down the line at the threat of separating her from her son. Did not like it at all, no wonder the woman had bolted away into the night. It did not appease him to hear Timothy tell him he'd not actually intended to follow through with it, that he knew he wouldn't have to, knew that Piper wouldn't risk it and would go with him. Don't interfere if you're going to threaten her or my son Timothy. I'll find her myself. He'd snarled down the line at the man, and ended the call, even while Timothy was telling him not to interfere. Recalled that Timothy had told him he'd also threatened her the first time they'd met as well. It was no wonder the woman was on the run, she'd gotten nothing but threats from him. He was just as guilty for raging at her about Hadley's dress. Her place, Cooper, let's see if we find something on where she might go. They did just that. Hadley was wandering around looking at her things, stopped and looked at the photos too. He'd let the cat out of the bag. She'd not said a single word since he'd used the words, my son, at the hotel. He'd not missed her expression at the time, had said it all. Bradley was sitting in Piper's home studio, once again trying to get past the password when Hadley walked in and looked around. He noted she was holding a photo in her hand. He's got your eyes. She commented softly as she walked past him and into the room to look around. He does, his name is Brandon, he told her with a nod. You're a girl, Hadley. What do you use for a password? Saw her roll her eyes at him. Yes, I am a girl. Watched her eyes move past him to the computer, and then just shrugged. I don't password protect things. Nothing. Nope, she shook her head. What about your study laptop? The one you take into the human world, he asked. Surely that was locked. Oh yeah, that. It's Mum and Dad's mate bond anniversary. That did not help him at all with the password. Cooper was off searching the house for anything at all. Heard Hadley gasp from behind him and turned to see her looking at the ruined dress on the mannequin. She'd moved the screen aside. He could see it as well. That's the dress I want, or did. She pointed to Bradley, looked right at it. Though he'd seen it last time, he'd not really taken it in. Had a defined sweetheart neckline with crisscrossed ruching and a fitted bodice all the way to the top of the hip area. Had some pretty embroidered tiny flowers on the left hip, and then fell in a ball gown style in lots of soft layers of sheer white material that had 3-inch white silk ribbon edging on each of the layers, that fell like cascades down. The dress in overlapping folds almost looked like large curls. It was in a soft white dress. He didn't think she could possibly have made it and torn it to shreds in just a week. Surely not. Then he remembered Renee telling him only one had ever been made and taken out of the catalog. He looked at it. Hadley as she stood there trying to put it back together. Leave it, Hadley, he told her gently. He could see her getting upset by the state of the dress. I'm certain once everything is cleared up, she will make you your dress. No, she won't. He heard Hadley say with a heavy sigh. Yes, she will, he reassured her. No, Bradley, you don't get it. This is her dress. The one she made for herself. Her big blue eyes turned right on him full of sadness. She'll never make it again. His eyes moved past her to the dress once more, and then he sighed himself. Her dress. The one she would have worn for him, he realized, was what Hadley meant, the one Hadley wanted for herself, the one he had gone in there demanding she make, for the woman that Piper believed was his new mate. Wanted her to wear the dress she had designed for herself. No wonder she'd ripped up that photo. No wonder she had refused to make it and told them to get out. No wonder he could feel her pain that day. He'd waltzed into her office and demanded from her point of view that she allow his new mate to wear the dress she, his actual mate, had not only designed but would have worn for her Luna ceremony. It just seemed to get worse with every minute. Nothing he did eased her pain, only made it worse. He had to sort this out, and quickly. She had made the dress, even though she would never get to wear it. Then destroyed it, but still kept it. The woman was torturing herself with it, and on a daily basis. He sighed as he stared at it. It was beautiful. She would look beautiful in it. Was this how she reminded herself to stay away from him? He wondered. Cooper came up empty-handed after searching the place top to bottom, went through every single room, methodically started downstairs and worked his way up, searching for clues as to where she may have gone. Nothing there was, not even a handwritten address book with people's phone numbers in it that she knew or socialized with. Need to search her office at the store. Cooper stated, I got nothing at all. We'll have to wait until it closes. I don't think Laura will let us search the office. The building has an alarm, remember. We'll need Izzy or another staff member to let us in. Or an alarm code. Hadley stated. She was still over by the dress. Coop, you go in and seduce the woman locking up, while you entertain her in the back room. Bradley and I will go upstairs and search her office. Bradley turned and looked at his little sister, shocked by her bold statement to Cooper. She had just told his beta to go and have asterisk with the human woman. Not a half-bad idea. Cooper laughed. But I don't do humans, Hadley. Why not? A girl is a girl. We got all the same bits. She stared right at Cooper as if making a point. Hadley, enough. You're not to talk like that. Bradley watched as she turned her eyes on him and then rolled them. What, can't he take one for the team? I'm dead certain the man has had plenty of women and likely done this before. What's one more notch in his belt? Enough. Bradley frowned at her. Out. We are done here. I'd take one for the team. She shot at him as she stalked by him out of the room. Bradley's eyes widened now. What the hell was that? Yes, he'd felt her all alpha in that comment, but where had his sweet little sister gone? She was speaking words he'd never heard come from her mouth, let alone didn't want to hear. We'll wait on Eddie, Bradley muttered and stood up. When did she get a potty mouth? He asked Cooper. Cooper laughed. That was clean, not potty-mouthed. Put it in the most politest way I've ever heard, considering. He looked right at Bradley. I have done that, and the way you put it, Coop, go asterisk that she-wolf till she tells you what we want. Hadley's words were very polite. Bradley couldn't argue about that. Cooper was right. They left, locking up behind them, returned to the hotel, seeing as he'd not actually checked them out. There was nothing he could do at this point. Sat with his laptop in front of him and logged into the Packhouse database via remote access and checked for that alliance contract Timothy had mentioned to him that he might want to look up. Had been going to do it back at the Pack, but seeing as they were not returning, this was the only other option to him. Read through it. It did not just involve Piper, but also her mother Jewel as well. It went right back to when she had found her mate Talon. It stated she was never to have her pendant removed by anyone in the Pack ever. That if she was to produce a child, it would come to the Ice Moon Pack to speak with the Whitlock elders. That any and all children would retain the Whitlock name until such a time as their wolf emerged, and if there were no white eyes, then the child could claim the father's name. If the wolf's eyes were white, it had to be reported to the Ice Moon Pack for bloodline lineage to be documented. It also stated that if Jewel or any daughter that she produced were injured or suffered death at the hands of the Pack due to multiple males asterisk either one of them, it would be all-out war. Those male wolves involved would be slaughtered, and the current alpha himself was fully responsible for their deaths. That he would be alpha dueled to the death by the current Ice Moon Pack alpha or by one of the Whitlock elders themselves. There was a picture of the pendant in the agreement to show what it looked like. Not that he had seen it on Piper, a long pale blue pendulum-type pendant. His father's signature was on the bottom of the document. Bradley sighed. Something was definitely going on that he had no idea about. And bloody well should be, considering the consequences fell right on his shoulders. His father had never put this document before him, never even mentioned it. He was more than annoyed. Turned it to Cooper for him to read. He'd not been wrong about that pendant. Brad had not seen her pendant. Though there was a chain around her neck, he could only presume from what his father had said that Piper had likely collected it off of her mother's dead body and now wore it, likely always had. That document sounded as though if Jewel or Piper did not wear said pendant, the whole or a lot of the male wolves in his pack would turn on them. The word rape had been mentioned by Timothy, and it was in that document as well. He really didn't like where this was going. Timothy himself had said that female Whitlocks didn't live long. He had actually sounded sad, in fact. had also asked him how their child was conceived, told him to his face if Piper stated it was rape he'd be alpha dueling him to the death. This did not bode well. Something about Piper and her bloodline was putting her in danger, and she likely had absolutely no idea at all. That pendant was definitely a protective charm, and Bradley, right now, was praying she never took it off, clearly needed to keep it on to save her very life. Though he was damned sure right this minute that it was also that pendant that hid her from him, scenting her out as well. How were they supposed to sort this out? He couldn't just remove it, that was for sure. Needed more information. Likely was going to have to take her right to Timothy and the Whitlock elders, not something she was going to be willing to do, from all accounts. She'd run from Timothy. Hadn't run from Bradley though, just avoided him. Interesting in itself. Chapter 19. Izzy POV. Izzy was dancing on the dance floor in their family home ballroom at the family estate in Maine. Her sister Joni looked so very happy as she was being twirled around by her new husband, Mason. They'd met 2 years ago at one of Joni's friends' engagement party and hit it off, been together ever since. Mason had proposed a year after they met and were now married. Lucky girl, just 24. Izzy herself was still looking for Mr. Right. She knew most of the people in this room, knew nearly all of the single men in there. None of them were her Mr. Right. Downed her 5th or 6th glass of champagne. She was one of 6 children. She had 4 other sisters, as well as Joni. 1 was already married, 2 were getting married within the next 12 months, and 1 was, like her, still hunting Mr. Right. She had no brothers, still irked her father. He was very old-fashioned, wanted to hand his business over to a son, a man to take over, not a woman. Her sister Cordelia, the eldest, also single, had gotten her business degree and had worked alongside their father for nearly 15 years now, was the next in line to take over, but their father was a very stubborn man, and was not going to relinquish control to her until she was married to someone he thought was suitable to hand the company to, not her, but her husband. Cordelia worked damned hard to attain her status within the family company, had in fact worked her way up from the ground floor. Her father had shown her no favoritism, still didn't in fact, was disappointed that she was not married to a suitable man of his choosing. Cordelia at this point was outright refusing to bow down to his demand, and was more than capable of taking over and running the company. Izzy herself had also disappointed her father when she had moved clear across the country and away from the man he wanted her to marry. Who was here at this wedding this evening himself? He was one of her father's junior business partners. Likely if she had married him, that man would be the one inheriting the family business. He had stepped up to her twice already, left his date at his table to do so, in fact. Asked her to dance with him, he smiled at her, thinking his good looks would sway her into forgetting what he'd done. She had declined him on both instances. This attention had not gone unnoticed by her sister Cordelia, who had walked over to her and looked right at her. "You're not going to get back with him, are you?" she'd asked. Izzy knew Cordelia was worried that if Izzy did take the man back, she would lose the chance to inherit the family business, and it really was what she wanted, mostly to prove to their father that a woman could do his job. Though she had worked hard and wanted to earn it, she had earned it as far as Izzy was concerned. Izzy had told her not even if he was the last man on earth. Saw Cordelia smiled and nod, then just walked away happy that Izzy wasn't about to be married off to a man they both knew their father wanted to hand the company over to. He was from a well-to-do family in New York, and a marriage alliance suited both families, but Izzy would not. She had actually dated him for a full year and a half, set up by both families, thought he was nice, definitely good-looking, and he had treated her very well, till she realized he was actually a pig of a man. Till she had seen him slide his hand up the leg of one of the female employees at her father's office where he worked, all slow and seductive-like, right up under her skirt, while he'd been talking softly to her. She'd not heard the words, didn't want to. Watching had been enough. Watched as that woman had not stopped him, had actually parted her legs slightly for his hand to go all the way up, which it had. Obviously, it had been going on for quite a while. Izzy had felt humiliated by his behavior as she had stood there and watched as her boyfriend at the time, with view to becoming her fiancé and husband, Had touched that woman so very intimately, smiling the whole time at her, hadn't seen Izzy watching them, too involved in what he was doing, had continued to touch her until Izzy had cleared her voice. Stated Philip, when your hand is free. Very angrily. He'd looked right at her, very shocked at being caught, retracted his hand, and had to hide to tell her it's not what it looks like. Izzy had seen the woman roll her eyes as if to say, yes it was. She had ended their relationship right there on the spot. She did not want a man who was going to cheat on her, and by what she had seen, the woman's reaction, she knew it had been going on for quite a while. She'd told her father that she had literally caught Philip with his hand up a woman's skirt, his fingers inside that woman, and so had left him. When he'd heard from Philip that she had ended things with him. To her shock, her father had still tried to convince her to take him back, telling her that sometimes men just have needs that one woman alone can't meet. Izzy had been mortified by this, that he'd not even cared that she'd been hurt by Philip, that he still wanted her to marry him, even though he was cheating on her. This had made her understand a lot more about her own parents, somewhat strained her relationship at the time. All her life, on the surface and out in public, her parents were the perfect couple, but behind closed doors, there were heated conversations and separate bedrooms since she was like 10. They ate separately, and both of her parents had their own apartments in the city away from the family estate where she and her sisters had grown up. Although her father had always had an apartment in the city, she knew her mother had not gotten one until Joni was 18. It was likely that her father was just like Philip, a cheating pig of a man always. Izzy just hoped that her own mother had someone too. As she watched them now, if you never saw them behind closed doors, you would think they were still perfect for each other. They were smiling and laughing. He had his arm around her waist, and she was all leaned into him. They looked happy and to be in love. It made Izzy more than a little sad, though she was now used to seeing it, and knew it was so very wrong. She herself wanted a man that would only have eyes for her, and that was not such an easy thing to find. Even on dates, men's eyes wandered. As soon as this happened, she ended things. If they were looking while dating her, she believed they were not really interested in her. Izzy didn't consider herself to be gorgeous in any way, but she knew she was pretty, and she was loyal and had a really good work ethic. She earned a good living, and with that promotion, she couldn't wait to be heading overseas. Was mostly packed for her move now too. Was getting a fully paid apartment for a whole year, a company car, and would be the actual store manager. The money was good too, got a massive pay raise, and all her travel was paid. Piper really was spoiling her, and she knew it. The new store was nearly ready, had spoken to Paul, their building contractor, just 2 days ago. Everything was on time. A few hiccups along the way, but nothing Paul had not expected and been able to deal with. He was a very capable man. Izzy was also looking forward to a change of scenery, a taste of the Aussie men too. She smiled to herself. Perhaps Mr. Wright was actually Australian, and that's why she'd not met him yet. Isabel, sweetheart. It was her father, Brian Jenkins, an advertising mogul. He took her hand in his "Come dance with your father." He pulled her out onto the dance floor. He was a 60-year-old man who looked maybe 50, kept himself healthy and fit, had a personal trainer, a dietitian, and a chef to make sure he ate properly. Yes, father. She smiled up at him, though it was not a genuine smile. She had already seen him with Philip after she had refused to dance with the man. Like 10 minutes ago, they had both been looking right at her. She had not liked the vibe, had felt that before. Philip would really like to dance with you, Isabel. He's a changed man, he told her calmly, as he swept her around the dance floor. I highly doubt that father, once a cheater, always a cheater. He frowned right down at her, disapproval written all over his facial expression at her loudly spoken words. He's still willing to marry you. Even with that crude tongue of yours. Is he? I'm sure his date over there. She shot up at him, reminding her father that the man had a current girlfriend and that she was here, showing her full well. He had not changed one bit. Wanted his cake and to eat it too. Would love to hear that. She looks like she thinks he's completely hers. He will leave her for you, just sowing his oats while you are away is all. Izzy snorted. For you, you mean, for the company he'll get out of it. She did not believe for a single second that Philip actually wanted her, just wanted what he would gain from her father by marrying her. Stop that, Isabel. He'll sign a prenup and be loyal to you. I've already discussed it with him, written up the prenup even. She was glaring at him now. Then I suggest you tear it up. I told you already I am moving to Australia in a month, that I am never going to marry him. He's a pig of a man. She yanked herself from her father's grip and turned to walk away, only to find herself facing Philip himself. He smiled down at her. She gritted her teeth as he grabbed right onto both her hands and started to dance with her. Now, Isabel, you must forgive me. Come home. I was young and I am willing to admit stupid. His voice was soft and cajoling. Give up this nonsense and come back to me. It's where you belong. Izzy tried to pull herself free of him, but unlike her father who had let go, and now she realized why, because Philip had been right there to grab onto her. Philip was not about to let go so easily. He had one hell of a grip on both her hands, almost painful, she realized. I'm not interested, let go of me, she grated out. The deal is practically done, Isabel. Stop being childish and marry me already, he stated, all arrogant and self-assured. Childish, she snapped in an angry hiss, trying not to make a scene at her sister's wedding. I'm not the one who got caught red-handed. Oh, that. He rolled his eyes. It was a one-off thing. It won't happen again. You're right about that. It won't, because I will not be coming back to you. She stomped right on his foot as hard as she could and heard him gasp, let go out of sheer reflex, glaring right at her. Izzy didn't care. She turned and walked away. They were not going to railroad her into a marriage alliance. Was stalking her way across the dance floor when she saw them, Mr. Yummy and the other guy from the walk-bys of Piper's store. They were both dressed in suits and ties, fitted in well with the crowd, just noticeably taller and more muscular, she realized, actually stood out quite a bit. Chapter 20. Edward POV. Cooper had sent him a lot of information about the Jenkins family. Apparently, the young Miss Izzy was from a very wealthy family out in Maine, had grown up inside a large estate home, had attended a private all-girls school, gone to university out there and attained a business degree, and then just up and left when she was 23 years old, moved clean across the country, and that was when she had started working for Piper Harper. Or thereabout anyway. It was likely she was used to dealing with wealthy, arrogant, and self-absorbed men before she even got out to Portland. He was doing his own digging as to why she suddenly up and left. All of her sisters still lived out there in Maine. It was a long flight and he had the time. Harry was stretched out dozing away. The lazy bugger had told him to research his own problem, but there had been a smirk on his face. He'd relished telling their mother that Eddie hadn't been able to charm a human woman, that she'd gotten angry with him the minute he'd tried using his gamma charm on her, had gotten all ticked off and marched him out of the store where she worked. His mother and father had been on him within minutes, telling him the girl was likely his human mate and that he needed to get his, but back out there to find out. He was 35 and unmated, a great disappointment to them. Harry had a mate, made it off the minute he was 18. In fact, to his high school sweetheart, a lucky bastard, already had produced 2 children for his mother to dote over. Had moved into the Delta position due to the fact that there was no Delta in the pack and Bradley had wanted one, had offered it to his little brother when he'd taken over. Eddie didn't mind, no one really did. Harry had been a little shocked, considering he had gamma blood, but had accepted the position. Now that man was of the same opinion his parents were, that this Izzy woman was his human mate. He didn't know. Yes, he couldn't charm her, and that was a telltale sign, but it was not a full moon, so there was nothing he could do about it at this point. Just wait and see. The full moon wasn't that far away, less than a week. He did want another cock at her, though. Perhaps he was just having an off day. It did happen, and some were more resistant to him than others. Now that he knew of her background and her dealing with the self-assured men likely most of her life, it was possible that she was just one of those rare few who could resist. Guess he would find out soon enough. She was at her sister's wedding. Perhaps she just needed to loosen up a bit, a drink or two before he tried to charm her again. He was trying to find out all he could about her, to find that one thing that would help him to sweet-talk her into giving up Piper's location, was actively hunting out why she had moved clear across the country away from her family when her degree was in business, and she had looked to be lining up to working for her father's company. Something had happened, and he was betting on it being a man. Nothing made women move a mile away from home than an ex that they didn't want to ever see again. Shook his head. That was exactly what Bradley was dealing with right this minute. It took him a while, but he found it. A few photos of Izzy when she was younger. In main society pages of old newspapers, she had longer hair but looked much the same. She was smiling, seemed happy, and had a man standing with her in those photos. His name was there along with hers, Philip Matthews. The article stated the two had been dating for just over a year now, and they were all waiting for an engagement announcement. He searched, but could not find any engagement announcement. Something had happened between the two of them. He was curious as to who called it off. Put the man's name into the search bar and well, he was working for Izzy's father, had been back then, and still was now. That was interesting to Eddie. This was probably the reason she had moved far away and stayed away. The man was currently dating a woman from another wealthy family, Caitlin Bateman. She did not do much, looked to be just waiting on getting a wealthy husband, had been with this Philip guy now for a year, though she did have a degree in social science. What she did with it, he had no idea. They dressed up to suit the occasion. They were about to gatecrash, knew there was no way of getting through the front gates of the estate. This wedding was large and would have a lot of wealthy important guests, a private function. So they parked their rental car and strolled on through the woods and hopped up and over the 12-foot brick wall that surrounded the place. No real challenge for either of them, heard and then saw the 6 Doberman dogs running towards them, all aggression, doing their job of deterring or taking down intruders. Both he and Harry allowed their wolves to pull forward and snarl right back at them, watched all 6 of them skid to a stop, uncertain of the 2 before them. He'd smirked to himself. Dogs mostly understood they were lesser creatures, but some good guard dogs would still attack on occasion. This lot seemed to know better. He'd let out another loud, all-aggression growl, and they had turned and ran away. As expected, both he and Harry had chuckled. It was always a bit of fun to see. They walked all the way across the grounds and strolled right into that ballroom where the wedding reception was being held. It was in full swing, the ceremony over, which was their plan. The bride herself looked very happy, genuinely so. Nice to see. Izzy, though, he watched her grab a glass of champagne from a passing waiter and down it like it was a shot, then walked off the dance floor, looked annoyed. His eyes moved around the room, liked being taller than most, was an advantage, saw her father and her ex talking to each other. Both of their gazes were on her, couldn't catch what they were saying over the top of the music that was playing. Stood and watched, trying to decide on the best course of action to take. If she was already annoyed, now was likely not the best time. He needed her to be happy and off guard. Saw her dance with her father not long later, and caught some of their conversation. She was not happy, said something about a cheater, and Eddie just knew she had left after this Philip guy had cheated on her. Why? He couldn't understand. She was a real cutie. Her hair today was pulled up away from her face, curled nicely, and she had pretty pouty lips that looked very kissable, deep dark chocolate-colored eyes, a heart-shaped face, and a lovely long neck. Her figure was also lovely. She wasn't very tall, but had a nice round asterisk and ample asterisk with a small waist, and tonight she was wearing a cocktail dress in a lovely soft jade green color. It had a lace top that fell away to a very sexy silk mermaid-style dress with a high split-up left thigh. He couldn't help but smile as he watched her father dance her around the floor. She obviously had dance lessons. She moved with ease, and he got that flash of skin when she stepped. Even Timber, his wolf, was watching her, he realized. Saw her father let her go, and as she turned to leave him on the dance floor, was grabbed by her ex, Philip Matthews, watched her try to pull away from his grip on her, away from him, didn't want to be dancing with him. Heard his own wolf suddenly growl, all low and menacingly at the sight. He saw her stomp right on that man's foot and stalk away from him. He looked more than pissed off, not that she cared. He couldn't help but smile at her hurting that man, though he did not like seeing her shake her hands out and then rub them. Clearly, Philip had been hurting her, holding on so tight that she couldn't get away. Eddie saw her look right at he and Harry and then back the other way and knew she was not happy, had no choice in them being here, but he could offer her a solution to getting rid of that man, and by the way his wolf was all up. Inside his mind it was highly likely she was their mate. So getting rid of that man was a definite yes. Timber agreed. His wolf shot him forward with all his wolf speed, and they were suddenly right in front of her. She looked more than shocked, even more so, when he pulled her away onto the dance floor and danced with her. She was light on her feet and never once faltered. He knew how to dance. His mother had drummed it into him. To all her children, as far as she was concerned, dancing with your mate was a must. Because she liked it, they all must. That was her crazy logic. But he had to admit dancing with Izzy was very nice, and pulling that body of hers hard up against his and holding her there in place, to sweet-talk her into letting him play at being her boyfriend. To save her from what he thought was her father and her ex trying to talk her into coming back to him. But the moment his mouth had touched hers, he'd not been about to stop himself from touching her. She tasted so sweet like raspberry syrup, and those lips on his so damned soft and luscious, found himself wanting nothing more than to just kiss her forever. Pushed his hand into her hair to stop her from pulling away until he was ready to stop. Bloody felt intoxicated by the taste of her and couldn't help the words that purred out of him, "Oh, Izzy. I missed you, baby." He'd not even realized it, but they were actually truthful. A part of him did miss this woman he barely knew. Had only spoken to her once, but now he realized he did miss her, had been stalking the woman trying to get to Piper, and had been watching her for days. Had missed looking at her, he realized. Introduced himself to her father, and actually saw him smile and think that Edward would be better for his daughter than her ex, though Eddie got the distinct impression it was just because of the connection it would make for him and his company. Little did the man know it would get him nothing. Unless Izzy wanted that herself. And by the way she cut him off before he could answer the question as to what he was to Izzy, it was unlikely. She too, it seemed, had not missed her father's reaction to who he worked for. Eddie could see that Philip was watching them talk. The man was glaring right at him, at the way he had his hands on Izzy, his hand splayed across her soft abdomen, in fact. Well, they had news for that man. She was their woman now, he and Timber were damned certain of it. She felt too damned good not to be their mate. His eyes met Philip's across the room and his wolf wanted a piece of him all of a sudden, when Izzy claimed she was not theirs, when he was trying to play the boyfriend card and after he had just told her he was a jealous man. And also informed her he was a possessive man. He couldn't help it, she needed to be told. He felt his wolf snarl inside his mind. He did not like hearing her say she wasn't theirs, would not be standing for anyone in her life but him. Turned her face to make her look right at him, and reassured her he would make that man go away, stay away from her, then was just stalked off across the room by his wolf to do just that. He was not going to let her ex touch her or hurt her, pulled his jacket off and tossed it right at Harry, who was already coming this way. "Don't do anything stupid, Eddie. Contain, you beast. Stay out of this." He'd shot right back as he'd started to roll his sleeves up. That man had hurt her. He'd seen the way she'd shaken her hands out. His grip on her had been hurting her. His beast was going to repay that in kind. Found her right in front of him. To stop him, saw that bastard touch her and have her shove his hand off like it disgusted her, snapped him arm around her and brought her right back to where she belonged, up against them. Lay his claim right on her for all to hear, "Don't ever touch my woman." Then to hear her call him Edward baby and turn those chocolate brown eyes on him, her tone all sexy and sensual to his ear, had his wolf purring inside of him. He'd not been able to stop a further claim on her. Marking her as his woman right in front of that bastard, slid his hand right up her body to caress her asterisk as he stared down into her eyes, teased her asterisk for all to see. Edward, he'd heard Harry's warning voice inside his mind, not a she-wolf. PDAs like that are not acceptable in the human world. Eddie didn't care, neither did Timber, who was mostly in control. All he cared about was the way her heart was racing, the way her body was reacting to his touch. pulled her chin all the way up and kissed her, wanted to. So did. Didn't care about anyone watching, she was his woman, and he was going to have her claim him before he was done with her. Took all of 2 minutes to be shoving her up against the nearest wall, wanting to have her. His whole body was hot and hungry for this woman. He couldn't even scent her yet, but he knew what she was going to be to him, and so did his wolf. They both wanted her. Told her they wanted her, let her hear it in his voice, wanted her to know he desired her like no other. Managed to get her to say yes to finding a room with him. He kissed the hell out of her, and she was all over him right back, carried her right out of that ballroom, heard many gasps and one very annoyed voice, muttering how inappropriate what they were doing was. Knew it was her father, he did not care. The man had no idea how long he had waited for this woman. They would not wait a moment longer than he had to make her his. Knew he couldn't mark her, but he was sure as hell going to mate her.